Hello, one and all, and welcome to another MaxN'Mate discussion. We're back talking about Death Battle. I'm your only mate. With me, as always, is
Max a few trades, and somebody has been really super into talking about this for a while.
Well, of course I am. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Max, it's happening. It's happening.
It's happening.
I'm actually shaking my leg as though I'm trying to shake you. Like if we're in the same room.
Can you prove I'm not your leg? But yeah.
Plot twist. My leg has had a Let's Play channel all along.
Man, you're very talented. But yeah, it's only right. Man, tell the people what we're talking about today.
Well, we're going to be talking about the upcoming Death Battle. If you, for whatever reason, don't know what that is, it's Blake versus Mikasa.
You're just so damn happy about this.
Dude, my best girl from RWBY versus my best girl from Attack on Titan.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know me, I freaking love both of these shows.
Absolutely. No, I've known... I feel like I know better than most do, and I feel like most people are aware of how into this you are.
Yeah. But before we get into that, should we quickly go through the rest of the episodes that we have so far?
Oh yeah,
Not
I figure
super in depth, but super quick.
Yeah, just as casual. This is what I thought of this.
Yeah.
All right, then. First on the agenda would have been the season premiere, King Mickey versus Yoda. And it's still silly to say that out loud.
It's such a weird episode because it's Yoda fighting Mickey Mouse.
And it's, yeah, no, but to its credit, despite how unbelievably weird it is to hear it,
it's so good.
Yeah, and to even see it, like, that fight was so much cooler than it had any right to be.
It's kind of like Goro versus Machamp, where it's like a silly matchup, but oh my god, that fight was amazing.
It really totally was. Like, you think about it and go, oh, okay. I mean, that's weird and kind of silly, but I mean, I'm sure it'll be funny to watch, if nothing else. And, like, there were funny moments, because, like, in their commentary track, I remember them going, like, no. Have Yoda and Mickey talk to each other more. Their voices are hilarious. And hearing them say these serious things to each other, of all people. So, like, they knew it was silly and funny. But, like, just...
And even just, like, back and forths, like, proof you are that size matters not. Right back at you, pal.
Like, goddamn, man, that's just so stupid it works. I love it. And the fact that it was legitimately an extraordinarily well-animated and intense fight between the two of them, like, goddamn, that was awesome.
Hell yes. And, oh my god, the soundtrack for it.
Oh, God. Oh, I don't... Okay, so I don't talk about this a lot, but, like, there are very few Death Battle soundtracks to fights where I'm like, I want to straight up just have that in my music folder. And, like, but this was one of them, because, like, even outside of the fight that it's attached to, it's legitimately just a really good song. Like, I felt, like, legitimate chills during a couple points of it. Like, holy crap, that was a good song.
Yeah, like, it really adds to the fight as well. Like,
Absolutely.
Like, especially that ending, too.
Yeah. And, like... Somebody, like, you know, TV tropes will talk about these sort of things all the time, but, like, one of those, like, wow, that was, like, one of the single most respectful and lighthearted fights to the death ever.
Which is weird.
It's so weird. It's like both of them were like, wow, you're really awesome. Yeah, so are you. My goodness. Like, we had that with All Might and Might Guy, but, like, this one felt...
yeah,
but, like, even then, I feel like this one felt even more respectful and lighthearted. I think the fact that, you know, Yoda, because Yoda ends up getting vaporized, essentially, and he comes back as a Force ghost and makes a silly joke before fading away. I feel like that's why they're able to sort of get away with that. With All Might and Might Guy, you know, one is definitively dead and the other one is about to die, so it's, like, not the most lighthearted ending ever.
Yeah.
But with this one, it was like, Mickey was like, man, that's a shame. He was really cool. And the ghost shows up. It's like, ha, I'm crazy Muppet Man. I'm like, oh,
You know, I love the detail you pointed out, because I never would have known this, but right as the lightning strikes, Mickey goes, what happened?
What happened? Which is the best callback to a cartoon Mickey's been in ever.
Like, now that I know that reference, I can't not think about it.
like, even if you didn't know it, it was already a little funny because he has like this unbelievable face of like fear, like oh. And then, now that you know the exact reference to it, it's amazing.
Yeah. Also, you brought this up in your reaction, but never would have thought you'd see Mickey's oh crap face.
I know. I've never like. I know that Kingdom Hearts itself has like, you know, they've done a lot with Mickey and they showed him have emotions all the time, but it was really striking to me just seeing all of these different emotions on Mickey Mouse's face, because usually he's always smiling, but you see like these, you could like when Yoda is like saying, you know, the Force you have not, and like you can see like the entire thought process going through Mickey's head. He's like, man, he has a good point, but I gotta keep trying, and I'm like,
oh, and I love that from that they bring in the do or do not. There is no try.
That's the perfect possible transition. Like,
love it.
Like, this fight is so much bigger, grander, and amazing than it had any right to be. Top notch. It was I don't know if it was. I'd have to think about it further, but I think it's a contender for my favorite season premiere.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we can definitely say it's the best one since Dante vs. Bayonetta.
Yeah. I'd say that's its only real super competition. So, as you can tell, we enjoyed that one. That was a good episode.
Yeah.
Great way to start it. Next up, we have Shadow the Hedgehog versus Ryoko the Human.
Ryuko Matoi.
I know. I thought it was funny.
It was, and it's just a funny matchup, too.
It is. It's Shadow's waifu versus Ryoko's persona. Like, there's just... like, at first I thought I was confused by it, because I was always like, okay, so they have the same color scheme, you know?
Yeah, and...
like, is that it? But no, there was a whole lot more to it.
Yeah. There was another matchup for Ryuko I have seen thrown around that a lot of people wanted, and it was Akame from Akame ga Kill. But I looked into it a little, and someone else mentioned this on another podcast. But basically, Akame versus Ryuko is the complaints everyone had about Shadow versus Ryuko, only it's actually true. Oh,
so basically... The only things about those two that are at all is like they have a similar style aesthetically, whereas I feel like it worked. I feel like the reason this happened is because Akane versus Ryoko. All right, you look at them, you don't know anything about them. You're like, okay, yeah, I think I get it, and yet you see like Ryoko versus Shadow the Hedgehog, and you're like, really?
But then you look into that, and it's just like, oh my god, they actually have a ridiculous amount in common.
You're right. You know, it's hilarious that out of the 3 Shadow fights... Okay, well, first of all...
This one is by far the best.
As much as it pains me to say, it is by far the best Shadow fight out of the 3 by a very large mile. And I feel like even... Okay, he does in fact win, but I feel like even if he didn't, I feel like Shadow fans would be at least a little happier with the fact that, oh, hell yeah, Shadow looked really cool for once.
Yeah, although I would have felt a little bad just because it would make him the very first 3-time loser in Death Battle.
Yeah. But luckily he avoided that, or unluckily, because, I mean, you saw my reaction and how bizarrely timed my statements were.
I love that so much.
Like, okay, so if you haven't seen my reaction, it's possible, and it's okay if you haven't. Basically, I say, man, that's a shame, because I thought Ryoko seemed really cool.
And then in comes Shadow. I'm the coolest.
And I just look at the camera like I'm in the damn office. Like, yeah, of course that happened.
Perfect timing.
Yeah. So I couldn't have written that. But so the fight was really good. It ultimately was pretty one-sided, like everyone I heard said. But as somebody who knew very, very little about Kill la Kill, and basically the full thing I had of it was really well-animated show with a lot of fan service. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
And that's not a wrong assessment.
It is a really good show. I enjoyed it when I watched it. Right,
and I feel like I'm probably still going to watch it at some point. But it did a great job showcasing the character and the series, and it made me go, oh, all right. So it went from a show that I had never had any intention of ever watching to going, I think I might actually check that out when I've got time, which isn't something that happens a lot. So that being said, all right, something I wanted to point out, that out of the three, while yes, this is the best one by far, it's hilarious that the first one has the least reason to exist.
Oh, Shadow Vegeta?
Yeah, because Shadow has a ton in common with Mewtwo and a ton in common with Ryoko, but he had like nothing with Vegeta. It was like, well, they can both turn super, and they're both kind of anti-heroes.
Well, and a lot of people compare like Dragon Ball and Sonic.
Yeah, and I guess it was good that it happened in the sense that from that day forward, people are like, oh, that's not nearly as even as I thought it would be. And
Yeah,
like, I see like no asks for Dragon Ball and Sonic fights pretty much ever anymore.
I think Trunks versus Silver still exists.
It does, but I feel like everyone is under the understanding of, no, we know exactly how that's going to go.
Yeah, which is kind of why I don't want it, because a lot of people request that just because they know Silver would die.
Yeah, and I feel like it's so weird. Have you ever seen a character so hated that you feel bad for them because you know for a fact that they're not that actually a bad character? They just had the worst possible introduction ever.
There are a couple characters I can think of off the top of my head that kind of got that.
Right. So like Silver from everything I've seen, like outside of Sonic 06, I have every reason to believe that he's a perfectly decent and cool guy and has his actual like heartwarming and funny moments, and he can be a very good character. He just had the worst introduction ever.
Like he was a great idea in concept, but just wasn't executed right.
Right. So you know, they sort of make up for that, especially in the comics. I don't know if you ever read any of the new-ish Sonic comics, but they're actually pretty good.
I hear a lot of stuff that people talk about.
Yeah.
Like how they reference the "it's no use" line, either to like jab at Silver or him just getting annoyed by it.
Yeah, he's like, why did everybody do that? Like, I get it, but...
Speaking of,
a line people are really tired of hearing.
Yeah, I love they bring back the Sayonara.
They brought back the Sayonara for...
And Shadow just goes, shut up! Like...
And fun fact, that's the only time in the entire fight he loses his temper.
Yeah, I have to admit, like, that, as a Shadow fan, was really cathartic.
It was like, yeah, they had to bring it back one more time, except this time, didn't work. And it's a very striking image, seeing him blow up those giant-ass scissors.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of the giant-ass scissors, I freaking love this detail, because the alumni mode and the Kisiyagi... I forget how to pronounce it sometimes.
It's okay.
Kisaragi, there we go.
Right.
Like, yeah, Ryuko uses those in the show, but not together.
Oh.
Like, she never used those at the same time, but seeing that happen in this fight was really freaking cool.
Yeah, okay. I could see that. Like, it kind of reminds me of kind of how they went about with Ichigo, where a lot of the things that he could do theoretically can't really be comboed or have never been animated before. So they were just like, let's just throw it all out there. The guy's gonna lose anyway. We might as well let him do something really super cool before then.
Yeah, well, I mean...
I feel like that was the mindset for Ryoko, too.
Well, I mean, the difference is there's no reason she couldn't use them together. She just didn't.
We have no reason to think that a character can't do this, so why don't we have them do this? So, that's the sort of thing. Just like, man, this character's never, just decked someone square in the face with her fist before. But I mean, we could. That sort of thing. So, as somebody who knows Shadow the Hedgehog about as well as anybody could ever know Shadow the Hedgehog, I feel. And
I mean, just
next to
because he's been in Death Battle twice already.
Well, yeah, but even if he wasn't, I just know him because, well, I know Sonic the Hedgehog. I just do.
Yeah.
But and somebody who knew next to nothing about Kill la Kill, I enjoyed the fight a lot. I think Ryoko's a really super cool character, no matter what Shadow says immediately after. But so I feel like it did everything it possibly could as an episode.
Well, I mean, you say that, Shadow also thinks Ryuko's cool because
He does.
Kill la Kill is his favorite anime.
It is, and I don't care how many Sonic fans loudly yell, "That's not canon!" It's canon.
Yeah, no, I accept it as canon.
It has to be. Like, what harm does... Honestly, truly, ask yourself, what harm is there in letting Shadow the Hedgehog have a favorite anime? Really? Does him liking an anime make him less cool to you? Because I'm sorry, you're already a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog. You're already a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog. You like anime. So, there you go. That was a good fight.
It really was.
And then... Oh, yes.
The freaking soundtrack for it as well.
Oh, yeah. Completely forgot about that one.
Oh, Chaos Unraveled is so good.
Yeah, no, that's about as rock as you can get.
Like, admittedly, the one thing I don't like about it is that one devil line, but like aside from that, it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, the one small miss in it makes up for everything else. So yeah, no, absolutely. Another really cool fight, and just to casually bring up, you put a poll on Twitter asking anybody who follows you to vote on what they thought was the best one out of the 4 so far.
Yeah, it still has like over 3 hours left, but as of right now, more people are voting for Shadow versus Ryuko out of the 4 matchups that we have so far.
Right, and this says a lot because I also voted for that one, even though I don't know jack about Kill la Kill.
I did not expect you to. I would have thought you'd vote for Yoda versus King Mickey.
I thought I would too, but when you asked me, well, you didn't ask me, but you asked the question, and I thought to myself, and I was like, I really love that fight. But for some reason, Shadow vs. Ryoko just feels like the more solid episode, for some reason. And I don't know why, but it just like, I thought about it for a second, I was like, my brain is telling me pick this one, so I did.
That's fair.
So, there you go. That's how good of an episode I thought it was. So far, out of the 4 we've had, I think it's the best. And I don't think any of the 4 episodes we've had are bad, even slightly.
Oh, absolutely. Like, they're all great.
So, I need to point that out. Speaking of, now we're...
Well, before.
Oh, yes.
They finally have Shadow use a gun.
Yeah, they did.
But just like, no, this is stupid.
Yeah, I see some people, like, I guess I'm not 100% sure. Some people say he picks it up, looks at it, goes, that's dumb, throws it out. Another person says, like, he picks it up, like, it doesn't work, and he throws it away. I'm not sure which one it's supposed to be, but I like to think he's like, man, I don't need this, and just tosses that.
Also, it wouldn't work.
Exactly, that's the thing. That's always been the big problem with Shadow using guns.
It's like,
he's stronger than
bullets anyway.
He's faster and stronger than bullets are. Why would he use them? Also, that's not how you cock that particular weapon, Shadow. What are you doing? Anyway. Oh, love it. So, if nothing else, yeah, you know what? Bare minimum, no matter what, this did Shadow the Hedgehog the justice that I feel a lot of people very much wanted for him all these years.
Yeah, and like admittedly, when I first watched like Mewtwo vs. Shadow, I didn't think it was that bad, but looking back on it, it's just like, wow, I see the problems with it.
I see the problems with it too, and especially because during the time I was still working there, I saw the original battle script, and it was way bigger and cooler. So the fact that so much of it got, you know, cut down and lackluster and like, okay, people are like, oh my god, you killed him with a spoon, really? I'm just gonna say it, in the original script, the use of the spoon, basically, Shadow was gonna pull out a gun and he was gonna shoot at Mewtwo, and he was gonna block the bullets with the spoon, and that was all there was with the spoon.
Which sounds cool.
Yeah, it was
and
just like, oh, okay.
Funny.
Exactly. So it's like Shadow uses a weapon that's not needed. He doesn't need this thing, but he uses it, and Mewtwo pulls out his silly manga weapon, and that scene happens, and they're like, yeah, okay, that was a little silly. And then they move on to their actual powers and stuff. That would have worked way, way better.
Also, it took me forever to notice that the background isn't even loaded in a few shots.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah, like, if you pull that fight back up, go to when Shadow goes super, there's just like a green thing in the background.
Oh. Wow. Well, That's unfortunate, because that was a fight I really thought could have been awesome, and it could have been awesome.
Oh, it could have been, but there's just some stuff that...
Yeah, behind the
that
scenes...
was unfortunate.
Yeah, behind-the-scenes stuff that's none of my business.
Hmm.
But, yeah, Shadow got what he finally ultimately deserved, and I hope his fans are much happier now.
From what I've seen, they are.
Yeah, and I feel... I know that a lot of people, Ryoko fans, are going to be like... but at the same time, she was really cool.
Yeah, and like this was kind of her best shot at getting in to Death Battle, I think.
It really actually was.
And hey, Shadow got to come back like twice, so
it's not impossible she could come back again.
Yeah.
Maybe. If not, I hear a lot of people talk about how her sister, I think, would probably get in, possibly.
You know, I don't want to say her name because you haven't watched Kill la Kill yet.
Oh,
Because-
okay.
Okay, they mentioned her in the analysis, but they didn't say who it is.
Oh,
So I'm
okay.
just like,
So I was like,
kinda
maybe
wanna leave
don't,
that.
maybe don't spoil that. Okay, that's
'Cause
fine.
it's
All-
actually
all
a
I
really
know-
good twist.
Okay, because all I know is that people are like, she has a sister, she's badass, she could get on the show. So that's all. That's the extent of it. That's all I know. So
And there's one other
She could get
character that we'd like to see fight a Persona 4 character.
I believe her name is Mako.
Yep.
Yeah, Mako versus Chie. I'm down for it. So, who knows what the future holds? I'm not going to say it's impossible for more Kill la Kill to happen, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Then we move on to, boy howdy, it sure was nice to have 2 episodes without a Marvel or DC character, but now's the time to throw that away.
Okay, to be fair, this is still good.
I know, I'm giving it crap.
You snark
Lex
because you're
Luthor
enjoying
versus
yourself.
Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lex Luthor versus Doctor Doom. A fight that I thought was so stupid that I legitimately didn't understand it. After the episode came out and I watched it, I concede there's more to it than I thought there was. It wasn't as random as I thought it was. And the fight was really cool.
Yeah, I have to admit, like, when I first heard about it, because I remember, like, all the stuff that was brought up for Iron Man versus Lex Luthor, and just knowing how absurd Doom is, I was just thinking to myself, I mean, yeah, it kind of makes sense, but won't Doom just annihilate him?
And
But
spoiler alert, he did.
oh yeah, but it does turn out Lex has improved since his last death battle.
He has. So it was closer, but ultimately, I think I even said it in my reaction. If it was just a fight between 2 really smart dudes with power suits and stuff, like, if it was just tech versus tech, Lex would have had a very strong chance of being able to win. But Dr. Doom is a sorcerer supreme level magician.
Doom is Doom.
Doom is Doom. He's only ever lost through bullcrap that they had to throw into the comics because, oops, made him too strong. How are we supposed to let the heroes win?
And
That's
then-
how it's always happened.
And then
And even
anytime
then-
he does fail, it's just like, oh no, it wasn't the real Doom, it was a Doom bot.
It was a faulty Doombot that came so ridiculously close to ruling the universe. The real Doom would never have let that happen. So it's like the ultimate get out of jail free card. They can make this character as badass and insane as they want, and anytime they ever have to make him ever lose, instantaneously, no, that didn't happen.
And I guess DC saw that and thought, what if we have Lex do that? Hence the Lex bots being a thing, which I did not know those existed.
Neither did I.
And
I refuse to believe that they aren't inspired by Doombots. I
Yeah,
refuse.
no, I refuse to like even conceive of the idea that DC weren't inspired by Doom and thought, let's try and make Lex that. Because
Yeah.
they have that whole like him going into the future, just like Doom did, and his philosophy being called Doom. Like,
And-
are you freaking kidding me?
Admittedly, there is technically the whole Legion of Doom that Lex is often the leader of,
Okay, yeah, that too.
but still, it makes you raise an eyebrow. It just really makes you go, it's like, guys, we should really make Lex Luthor more powerful. Let's just try to, kind of maybe ape a thing or two from Dr. Doom. Well, not to make it totally obvious, I'd say the Lex spots are kind of obvious, but I'll give them credit.
Also, let's be real. Marvel and DC have done this with each other multiple times.
Oh, they've been doing that for decades. Are you kidding? It's like, oh, wow, hey, guys, this character did this. Oh, well, then we'll have our character who's like that character do this. They've been doing that forever.
Yeah, like Hawkeye's bow having
the most marginal draw strength, like being stronger than Green Arrow's by like the slightest amount. Yeah. Like my double.
Just conveniently double.
Conveniently exactly double Green Arrow's drawstring strength. Like, oh no. They read a comic where it said this is how his Green Arrow's bow works. Hawkeye's is even better. It's like, yeah. So no, especially with characters like Hawkeye and Green Arrow. That was decades and decades of one-upsmanship all the damn time. So that was always funny. And there was actually a bit of a war of a similar amount to Batman and Black Panther for a long time, too.
Oh, boy.
It's like, okay, well, Batman did this, but, he's so smart, he did this. And then Black Panther's like, well, he's so smart, he did this. And he kept going like that. Ultimately, anti-vibranium armor. That sheds through literally anything, like it's made out of wet tissue paper, so it doesn't really matter. But I digress. Lex versus Doom was way cooler, and out of all 4 fights so far, it had the best back and forth between the characters.
Oh, definitely.
Like, all of them talked to each other. Like, Mickey and Yoda were respectful and lighthearted, and it was nice. Shadow and Ryoko had some barbs here and there, and it worked for them, totally. But this was a fight between 2 of the most vain, self-absorbed, I'm the best ever kind of characters that there ever was, and they were going up against each other. They had to try and out-ham each other, and it was really cool.
I love the back and forth, like, a mechanical replica. It's called a Lexbot, you knuckle-dragging buffoon. Oh, this design is rather ingenious. Not as ingenious as mine, of course.
And it just kept going and going and going and going, and like, no, like, if this was an official product, well, obviously neither of them would have ended up dying in the end, but if this were an official product and these 2 were fighting each other, this is how they would be talking.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, this is them to a T.
Yeah, and I love, like, Doom's final line, just like, his power, it's like that of the gods, beneath me.
What? Damn. That's not just bragging. He actually had god powers.
Yeah. And, Doom in this episode is voiced by the same guy who voiced Dracula in Ganon vs. Dracula.
Indeed.
Like, every time I hear him say, but enough talk, I just immediately think, have at you!
Like,
it's like... it's the same guy, and a similar line.
I almost feel like they did half of it for the reference, but didn't do the full thing, because, like, okay, Dr. Doom wouldn't say that, and we're being a little too obvious about it. So, like, they sort of did a half and half on it. So, I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. Oh, and there's something a friend of mine pointed out about Lex's warsuit sprites. Did those look familiar at all to you?
As a matter of fact, they did. Would you like to elaborate?
Those were reskinned Iron Man sprites.
Yes, they were.
Oh, the irony.
Yeah, that is funny to me. And I liked what they did, ultimately. Like, if you look at, like, the little, tiny corner things, they're like, well, technically the odds of Lex actually using the Superman powers in this fight were pretty low. But even if he did, Doom has a counter for it. And it's just like, it was more so, we thought it would be really cool if he did some Superman stuff. So we did.
Oh, yeah.
And it was cool.
It was.
Also, shout out to Doom pulling a Captain Ginyu. Several people going, oh, he did a Captain Ginyu. And then Boomstick said, pulling a Captain Ginyu. And everyone's all like, ah! That's not a move you see too often in fiction. So that was really cool. No,
it's not. And also, I think this is the first time we've seen it in Death Battle.
Mind Switch?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so. It's possible I'm forgetting things. We're almost at 150 episodes, and while I have an encyclopedic knowledge about a lot of this, it's possible a few things could slip through the cracks, but I'm relatively certain. Yeah. So while I came into the fight thinking, well, this is stupid, Doom is going to win, and I ended the fight going, well, that wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. It made more sense. Doom is still totally going to win. Then the fight happened, and I was like, oh, yeah, no, Doom won.
Yeah. I have to admit, though, that power siphon thing, like, what the hell?
I know, right?
Jesus.
Like, what the hell? It's like, oh, well, I mean, he used it to suck up all of the power of the Beyonder, who has multiple times the strength of the multiverse.
No,
not the universe, the multiverse.
No, they said millions of times the power of the entire Marvel multiverse.
And it's just like, well, goddamn.
Well, that got me. That got me thinking. If, let's say, Doom were in a fight against, I don't know, let's say Darkseid, could he in theory siphon the Omega effect?
It's actually not impossible. I think it's pretty safe to say that Doom actually would have a better chance at fighting Darkseid than Thanos did. I don't feel confident saying he would definitely absolutely win, because there's that whole, his real self being that of another dimension, that sort of crap. I'm not 100% sure. But I feel like Doom would have a shot, if nothing else.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas I feel like Thanos just kind of was. I feel like Darkseid was almost playing with Thanos. I was like, all right, that was fun. Now I'm done.
Yeah.
Whereas with Doom, I feel like he would actually have to put some effort into it.
Yeah.
So there you go. Another super duper solid episode. It took a concept that I thought was going to be a massive dud, and I would end thinking, well, that was really forgettable. And I think I'll remember it. If nothing else, damn, that kill move.
Yeah. And I've seen that with a lot of death battles. Like, some people look at it and they're just like, really? This matchup? Like, why? And then the episode comes out and they're just like, oh, that was really freaking cool, actually.
And honestly, I really shouldn't ever think that anymore, considering I helped make Goro versus Machamp.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that fight is the king of, really? That's stupid. And then you watch it and you're like, god damn.
I mean, it was one of my favorites last year.
Yeah, no, it's probably in my top 10. And even if I didn't work on it, it probably would be, because I was just too good. So there you go. That's 3 episodes in a row. Very solid. Move on to the 4th one, and we've got Hayachi versus Geese. The first fight of the 4 that didn't make me go, eh.
I'd also say it's not a fight that we would say is predictable. One of us had to say it. I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
It's just fun to say it, okay?
It is.
Like, after watching this episode, I've said this in our private chat, I want to play Smash Brothers with my friend and say that, like, anytime I land a counter against them.
I mean, it's a really good line, and now you know why SNK fans have been holding on to that meme for, like, the better part of, like, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Because Geese is a terrible, awful, horrible person. God damn if he ain't funny. Easy.
And then he landed in a volcano where he would die forever.
That he sure did. So this was After Shadow. It's always nice to have more video game characters in Death Battle, because they're actually more rare these days than you'd think.
Yeah, like last year, half of the episodes had Marvel or DC.
Yeah, and to their credit, they did say that they were going to try and tone that down for this year.
Yeah, that's something I want to address for Lex versus Doom. Like, people heard that and they were like, you said no more Marvel versus DC. No, they didn't. They just said they were going to tone it down. Like, they're still going to show up.
Yeah, like,
just
to be fair,
hopefully not
it was
frequently.
It was always going to happen. If you thought their 10-year anniversary season wasn't going to have Marvel vs. DC in it, you were absolutely insane. It was going to happen eventually, and I don't know, we might end up with a second one,
possibly.
Maybe? I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was.
If there was one more, maybe. But I'd like to think that they'll... 50% of the cast of this season aren't going to be Marvel and DC characters. That being said...
so far, it's looking promising.
So far, we're doing very well. Much better than we have in previous seasons, where in the first 4 fights, like, over half of them have been Marvel and DC. It's Miles and now we've got black in there. Anyway. On top of that, video game characters are always nice to see. On top of that, we also got fighting game characters that aren't Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, or Killer Instinct.
Yeah, we finally got a second Tekken character.
It took so dang long. And our third King of Fighters character, or Fatal Fury if you want to get super technical. But yeah. Either way, I really liked the episode. It was an episode I've thought should have happened a long time ago, and I'm glad it finally did happen, and it was good.
Yeah, it's one of those matchups I always saw, and I was just like, okay, it's probably going to happen eventually, and yeah, like, I'd be down for it.
Like, as somebody who kind of really only knows what they know of King of Fighters and Tekken from previous death battles, you were like, okay, cool, I'll watch. I mean, obviously you weren't going to not watch it, but you were like, yeah, all right, I'm feeling pretty good about that. I'll watch. That sounds fun. And it was.
Yeah, it was really fun. Like, admittedly, a lot of it was just laughing at the predictable line.
They used that masterfully. They could have easily done it improperly. They could have easily done it too much. And you'd say 4 times. That is kind of a lot. But they did it normally twice. Yeah. And then there's the rule of threes coming in. So on the third one, they make a bigger joke out of it with Hayachi being annoyed by it and just Geese totally not caring. And he's just raising his eyebrows with an audible noise.
I love that little detail. Just the eyebrow raising the sound effect. Like, it makes me chuckle whenever I rewatch the episode.
He's like, I'm going to say it. Don't say it. I'm going to say it. Don't say it. Double. It's like, damn it, that's great. And then they bring it back one more time for Hayachi to say it.
Which I thought was an amazing touch.
Absolutely. And, it also helps that he puts his own spin on it because he's speaking full Japanese.
Yeah, which I did not know this about Tekken because I played it when I was younger, just like with my brother here and there, but I didn't know any of the story or anything about the characters.
Boy, is it silly, but yes.
As I've learned from this, yeah.
Yeah, Tekken tries to make all of their characters speak their native languages.
Yeah,
and
I didn't know that, and I think, doing that for this episode, that is a fantastic detail.
Yeah, I was saying off screen, they could have easily just used in-game audio bites for both of them, but they got 2 voice actors. They had someone speak Japanese, and they had someone speak fractured as all hell English, and it was amazing.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a lot like what they tried to do with Shadow against Mewtwo, where it's like reference to the older games, but this one works so much better.
See, I was also saying this. The bad voice acting of Sonic Adventure 2 was due to a large variety of factors, and it was kind of an outlier, because nowadays the voice acting in Sonic games are almost universally considered to be very solid. But while nowadays they will have Geese speak in not fractured English, the majority of fans of his, and for the majority of his character's lifespan, he talked in ridiculous broken English the entire time, and it became a beloved aspect of him.
Yeah.
So keeping that in the fight made a lot of sense. It confused people who don't know anything about King of Fighters, but to anybody who did know about it and liked it, they were like, hey, I approve.
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
I didn't know that much about it, but I knew like some of Geese's lines. Like just the predictable, die forever.
That stuff, right, exactly. Too easy. Stuff like that, but this is actually a thing that even in Smash Brothers is affected. You'll notice Terry, he wasn't as well known for it, but like even though they had some more clear enunciated lines for Terry in Smash Brothers, Sakurai made note for him to still say, instead of saying Buster Wolf, Buster Whoa! That sort of thing.
Okay, I'm gonna just throw this out there. If not for Ken versus Terry, I'd have no clue who Terry was.
Oh, I know. Absolutely. I understand. I mean, if that episode never happened, he probably would still gotten to Smash Brothers, and you would have at least been vaguely aware of him there.
Yeah.
But the point is, it was sort of a thing for anybody who was speaking quote-unquote English in King of Fighters, is they didn't have the greatest. That's why for so many years, his rising tackle move was called the Rising Taco. And you can still sort of hear him say it in Smash Brothers when he uses up special. Rising Taco! It's like, It's like Sakurai knew, because he loved the series. He was like, I can't get rid of those. Dude, they're lovable.
Dude, Sakurai just loves video games.
He so does. Like, Nobody can ever argue that, and those who have are dumb.
Dude, if you've seen his home setup, he has, like, every console.
Yeah, so dude knows his stuff. He makes sure that every character, even characters he himself doesn't have any connection with, are represented in ways that make fans happy. Like, I know this has nothing to do with anything, but just very quickly, like, he didn't know jack about Banjo-Kazooie at all, but he made sure to learn so that people were happy when they got in. So, mad respect. But yeah, English has always been a thing in King of Fighters. It was really great to hear. I loved it. It's so weird because they're both villains. So, you know, whoever loses, whatever. But, like, even though Geese is by far and away the worst person, I think, I feel like Hayachi has brief moments of not being a scumbag, but Geese doesn't. So I was like, but even though Geese is worse, I think I kind of like him a little better because he's just that over-the-top, goofy evil.
Fair.
So I was like, oh, it's kind of a shame to see him die. But at the same time, can't say he didn't deserve it.
Also, that death.
Yeah, that's gonna go into the pantheon of brutal deaths.
Yeah,
you know,
like,
they didn't have to show Geese melting. They could have just showed the lava enveloping him, and we would have gotten the picture.
And
it's exactly
I
like
watched the commentary like after this fight came out, and
I haven't seen that yet. How'd that go?
Luis was saying that he drew that in like a day, but after he drew it, he looked back and was just like, "What did I just draw?"
Like, oh, damn it.
Like, I spent time drawing a man melting to his skull, and then, like, that melting in lava.
Like, wow, I was feeling morbid that day. It's the same thing that happened with, like, Ace and Natsu. Like, you could have just had him get enveloped. You didn't have to show him melt. You didn't, but you did.
God, at least with the character, so many reactions to that death.
Oh, yeah, no, you had to see it, because, like, that's the whole reason. It's like, if no other reason, I gotta see reaction. I want to see people react to that moment, because no one sees it coming. You shouldn't. That was messed up.
I have to admit, like, looking back, that is maybe one thing that Carnage versus Lucy was missing.
Yeah, like, actually, considering the fact that there's only so much you could do. And, I mean, Lucy did rip apart Carnage very graphically as much as she could. So...
Yeah, but, like, seeing, like, the symbiote, like, peel back and then, like, him melt like that.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. They could have totally done that. But they didn't. They just had him go kaboom, and everyone's like, is he dead? And then KO. Oh, I guess he was. That sort of thing. They wouldn't have had people wondering if they showed him melt.
I have to admit, reactions to that are kind of funny, so...
They are. Nobody ever expected Lucy to win.
Including me, honestly, because, you know, comic book character, absurd healing. Well, then again, it's not the first time that someone like that has lost. Wolverine.
Healing factors aren't gonna help you completely 100% of the time. It'll definitely keep you in a fight longer than you realistically should have. That was always my favorite thing about Carnage Lucy and Raiden Wolverine. It's like, you know, these guys were massively outclassed in just about every way, but their healing factor made them really hard to kill. But eventually, it's gonna wear out.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, I feel like this was another super solid episode, honestly.
And I freaking love that they, like, obviously they had to do it. They had to have, like, Hayachi throw Geese into the volcano and recreate, like, him falling. Like, love it. Like, those play into each other so perfectly, you can't not do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So...
Alright, let's talk about the main event. The next time, Blake versus Mikasa!
You've wanted this fight longer than I've known you.
Yeah, because,
we've been friends, like, solid, like, legitimate friends, I want to say, for, like, maybe 4 years, and you've wanted this for at least 5.
Actually, no. No, we have been friends for, like, 5 or so years, because, like, I feel like we started, like, talking after Ratchet and Clank vs. Jak and Daxter came out. That's
true. I'm not sure when the line between casual acquaintance and friend happened, but it was somewhere in there.
Yeah. And for those who watched Max's reaction to that, to give you an idea, that fight for him, that's what this is for me.
Yeah. It's like, characters, he knows them so insanely, absurdly well, like the back of his hand, that it's honestly kind of odd. But like, I say that as somebody who was the exact same way with Ratchet and Jack.
And like, this is essentially my personal Goku versus Superman, where it's like that one fight.
Yeah. Like, I was when I saw that it was happening. I'm pretty sure this will go up before even my reaction ends up going. But
Which
basically,
is annoying because I want to see it.
I know you do, because I make a big spectacle of it. But to put things in a very simple sense, I was obviously excited personally for myself, because I think it's a good fight too.
And also, you like RWBY, and despite not being a fan of Attack on Titan, like, you don't watch the anime, you don't watch you don't read the manga.
But I know of it thanks to you.
Yeah,
and I was like, and I know how good of a conceptually how good of a fight this is. So I was always going to be like, oh yeah, awesome, cool, Blake, you know, at the very bare minimum. But then I was like, oh my god, Mark, it's finally happening, Mark. And I'm like, I think I hear him. I think I hear him from here.
I'm so happy.
And after watching your reaction, after watching your reaction, I think I actually might have.
Okay, please, for the love of God, tell me you heeded the volume warning.
I did.
Okay, good.
Just because I know you. I lifted my headphones off of my ears slightly, and then it was still very loud, and I was like, whoa!
You know, like, I can't remember what it was for. It was either for in another death battle that happened, or when Blake and Yang killed Adam. Because those are the other two reactions where I've like shouted to the point where, yeah, I need to put a volume warning in there.
It was like, what?
There's a friend of mine, Billy, who told me that he was watching it with earphones, like just, you know, the iPhone things. He saw the warning and was just like, can't be that loud.
You fool.
His earphones broke after that.
Oh, that is actually hilarious.
So, if I put a volume warning in my heed it.
Yeah, always heed it. Mate is... My good friend, your only mate, is generally a rather reserved fellow, all things considered. You don't get that absurdly emotional all the time, but when you do, the world feels it. And, man, I legitimately, it was my first... Like, before I even thought of, oh boy, Blake versus Mikasa, that's going to be a good fight, my first legitimate thought was, oh my god, Mark, you're going to be so happy. That's how much this fight means to you, that it was the first thought I had when I saw it. And we can just very briefly bring up the fact that if you go to almost any reaction for Hayachi versus Geese, you'll see people in the comments talking about you.
Yeah, or even just, like, in some videos, like...
in some videos, even in a couple Twitter discussions, I see you just casually brought up.
Yeah, like, there was a prediction I came across where someone just flat out just mentions me by name. And is just saying they're happy for me, or they'll allude to me as, like, oh, the person who commissioned Titanic Shadows, which is what, you know, this is the fight it was for. So, the death battle community a good chunk of it is at least mildly aware of your existence and how much you wanted to see this. And I find that to be not only hilarious, but legitimately kind of badass. Like, you wanted something so badly. People that might not even have seen any of your videos know that you are a guy who wanted this. Yeah, like, ever since it came out, like, ever since it got announced, I should say, like, I mean, I posted a thing on Twitter, it's just, Hope from the first Ant-Man film, like, the end credit scene, just saying it's about damn time. Like, no other context, like, just that clip. Yeah. And... You always told me that that's what you would do if it got announced. Well, yeah, because I thought it was funny. And, I'll have you know, luckily... I saw the video, I saw and recorded my reaction before I saw that tweet. Oh, thank God, because I was actually a little worried. It was like, oh, wait, hang on a second.
Crap. Don't worry. We dodged that bullet.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. So I didn't know beforehand.
Yeah, but just, like, seeing all the, like, comments or tweets or just, like, anything. Just, like, people saying that they're happy for me or just saying, like, congrats. Or even just, like, people being excited for this matchup in general. Like, it's a insane feeling, honestly.
Yeah. No, your hype for this fight is so redonkulous that it's made other people ridiculously excited. Through it's like you radiate. It's like you're the Godzilla of Blake versus Mikasa hype, and everywhere you go, you leave this irradiated wasteland of hype behind you, and other people just can't help but get that.
That is a weird analogy, but you know what? I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean that in the best possible way.
And you know, it's not inaccurate because remember when we were at RTX in 2019?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I mentioned it to so many people, and they were just like, "Oh, that sounds dope! Like, yeah, I want to see that."
Yeah, there were people who didn't even think of it at one point, and you bring it up, and they're like, "Whoa, hang on, that's actually a really cool idea."
Yeah, and because we met Ben and Chad together at that event.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
I brought up with Ben, and he told me, and I quote, "We have talked about it."
and I can confirm, yes, they have. Should I just say it then?
You know what? Go ahead, and I want to preference this. This is a story you told me, like. Okay, so to paint the picture.
Go ahead. Paint the picture.
The fight gets announced. I'm super excited about it. I just messaged Max, "Hey, so let me know when you've seen Hayachi versus Geese." Which I do a lot, like whenever it's like a death battle or a RWBY episode.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
You'll respond and you put in like, "Oh, congrats, I'm happy for you, buddy." But you also essentially just like, "Hey, Mark, my friend, one of my bestest buddies, have I got a story for you?"
This is not the first time Blake versus Mikasa has been on the schedule. When I was working for the show, and now that the episode is legitimately happening, I don't think I could even possibly get in trouble for saying this anymore, because they've talked about things that have not happened in the past. There have been 2 other instances where Blake versus Mikasa was going to happen, and for one reason or another, it got pushed back, or delayed, or moved to another season.
Mm-hmm.
And those would be seasons 5 and 7.
I thought it was season 6.
Which season had the second RWBY fight?
That was season 6.
Oh, then it was season. Okay, so it was seasons 5 and 6. My bad.
Yeah, and season 5 was that season where they were trying to go through all like the big requests. Mm-hmm. So that also just shows how popular a request this was.
It's always, as someone who saw suggestions come in, it was always something a lot of people, did ask for, and they were very aware of that. And they were going to do it in season 5, but I don't know the full story. I don't know every tiny detail about what went on in the background, just the stuff that they openly talked about to us. But ultimately, this episode got pushed out so they could fit in Optimus versus Gundam, I believe.
Yeah, which I have to admit, like, as disappointing as that is, but Optimus vs. Gundam was still an awesome episode.
And they were almost at their 100th episode, and they still never had Optimus Prime on, so...
Optimus freaking Prime, who's one of the most iconic characters in fiction.
Neither of us are really big Transformers fans, and we would tell you, that's weird. Why don't you have Prime in yet? So, okay. The other one, a little less so. This one actually pains me a lot.
It pains me too, knowing it.
Okay, I'll try to just get through this as quick as possible. There was a RWBY fight in Season 6, I think people are aware. Originally, Blake versus Mikasa was going to be that RWBY fight in Season 6. They switched it because they were under the impression that particular volume would center around the RWBY character that they did use that season, and it didn't.
And what actually makes that kind of not the best timing?
Mm-hmm.
How did Volume 6 end again? Like, what thing got resolved to do with one? Well, I guess 2 of the RWBY goals, but one has significantly more history with it.
Oh, are you trying to tell me that that was the culmination of many of Blake's character arcs?
And in hindsight, yeah, that would have been a fantastic time to do this.
Yeah, know what character didn't get any of that? The one they thought was going to.
Oof.
I vividly have Ben's words burned into my brain. Yeah, we really thought this was going to be her volume.
Oof.
I'll never forget those words as long as I live. Anyway, it's happening now.
Yeah, and okay. I'm really sorry I have to say this, but
It's fine.
I'm
Say whatever. Go ahead.
actually somewhat happy that it worked out this way.
As good of a
Because-
timing as it would have been for Blake.
It would not have
This
been the best
time-
timing for Mikasa.
Right. Now, please, explain why it's a better time for it now, for those who don't know.
Okay, so the Attack on Titan manga, like, just recently, like, earlier this month, finally concluded.
Yeah, it has an ending. It's over.
Yeah, so now...
Mikasa is now no longer capable of getting any stronger.
Yeah, Mikasa is at her peak. Like, she's at her best for this. So, for Attack on Titan characters, this is great timing. And, I know there might be some people that ask, like, why is this, like, considered a legacy episode to celebrate 10 years of Death Battle? To those, I want to ask, what were the things that originally inspired Death Battle? Yes, there was Deadliest Warrior,
Yes.
but another big
Which is
part of it-
hilarious. Hang on, before you do. It's hilarious that that's a fact, because with each passing year, that show becomes less and less remembered by people.
Oof.
Like, Death Battle is so much more popular than Deadliest Warrior ever was. It's hilarious. But anyway, sorry. Continue.
Yeah, so the other thing was Haloid. And, well, Haloid and Dead Fantasy,
Yeah.
which were both animated by Monty Ohm, who is the one who created RWBY. And, like, not only did his work inspire Death Battle, but Monty was a big inspiration for just people behind Death Battle as a whole. Like,
Monty was a ridiculous inspiration to a lot of animators.
yeah, like, hell, the first time that Ben, Chad, and everyone at Death Battle got invited to RTX, it was Monty who invited them because he wanted to tell them, hey guys, Death Battle is awesome.
Yeah.
And, like, Ben talked about this in, like, the live stream before Yang vs. Tifa. He was saying,
Right.
like, his thought process was like, holy shit, Monty likes it!
Yeah.
Like,
The guy that we were inspired by likes what we do. Oh my god.
yeah, and, well, yeah, it was there that, he requested some fights, one of them being RWBY versus Marker, so people might ask, why is it not that matchup? I feel like we can wait a little bit longer on that.
Yeah. I feel like it's... Just to quickly say, like, they showed, like, the DM thought process of like, RWBY in Death Battle, like, as a series. It was like, win or lose, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And at one point, he was like, oh yeah, no, RWBY versus Maka, that's a great idea. But don't do it now.
Yeah, like, wait
And
until RWBY gets us to a certain point and then do it.
And unfortunately, for tragic reasons, we're not really sure how far in he meant by that. So, basically, if I had any guess in the matter, it's really, we're just going to wait and see. And when we think RWBY isn't going to be getting any stronger as a character, then we'll do it.
Hmm.
Because if at any moment they're like, all right, let's do RWBY versus Maka, Maka wins currently pretty handily.
And then next thing we know, following volume, RWBY gets a massive buff, and everyone looks into it, and they're just like, oh, she beats Maka now.
Oh, well, damn, if only we waited, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, like, this is stupid, but just for instance, oh, look at that. We just did RWBY versus Maka. Good episode. RWBY lost, but that's a shame, but it happened. There you go. Next volume of RWBY. Oh, RWBY has all the maiden powers. Huh. I don't know how the hell that would happen, but that's the kind of thing that the Death Battle Curse is all about.
Yeah, like, remember when they did Natsu versus Ace? And then, like, a novel came out about Ace's backstory?
Luckily, it didn't change anything. But yeah, like, Ace had been dead in One Piece for like over a decade with no new material whatsoever. The instant they announce it, oh, by the way, here's a prequel book. What the crap?
Or like when they announced Joker like versus Sweet Tooth, DC are like, okay, we're gonna reveal the Joker's backstory.
Yeah.
Freaking really?
Like really? That thing you said you'd literally never do for the past 80 years?
Look, watch. They'll announce a Half-Life character and Half-Life reconfirmed.
Honestly, at this point,
I would laugh so hard if that happened.
It would be the funniest damn thing ever.
But yeah, and I'm saying a lot of stuff on like Monty and RWBY's side, but this is also like, obviously like we're gonna have RWBY at some point. We've already had 2 of the RWBY goals. This is just one step closer to completing the set.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. After the first RWBY character gets in, you could think, outlier, like that's a special thing, because that was before they were even part of Rooster Teeth. They're like, thanks Rooster Teeth for letting us use your character, that sort of thing. After the second one, for better or for worse, after the second one, that's half of Team RWBY. At that point, everyone should have immediately gone, they're eventually going to have all 4 of them on the show at some point.
Well, with one of them already being confirmed.
I know, but like even if you didn't know that,
yeah, true.
Even if you don't follow the behind the scenes stuff and you don't pay attention to anything that the creators say ever, and you're like, they have confirmed, yeah, we're gonna do RWBY versus Maka at some point. But even if you never knew that, you saw, okay, they did Yang and then they did Warrior, and then they're like, oh, yeah, they're probably gonna have the other 2 show up at some point, probably. That sort of thing.
Yeah, and as for like the Attack on Titan side of things, like why is this a legacy matchup? For the longest time, like, before I even got into Attack on Titan, I always saw it as just, like, that anime, the internet lost its collective mind over.
Yeah.
Like...
It cooled after a good while, but man, there was a time when Attack on Titan was the biggest, most pop culture relevant anime ever.
And, like, yeah, it probably would have gotten requests for Death Battle, like, a lot. But, don't think the characters were ready for a while. And also, finding the right matchup, too.
Yeah, when the series first started... When the series first started, they weren't at their most powerful, and you didn't really have a great feel for them yet, so it was good to wait. And then, I mean, especially when I want to say Attack on Titan started in, like, 2009?
Hang on, let me look that up. Keep talking.
I think Attack on Titan started pretty dang early, and a big problem Death Battle had for the longest period of time was, how are we supposed to animate this character? Like, to this day, I'm pretty sure there are no sprites of Mikasa.
Okay,
at least not...
The manga started in 2009.
Called it. So basically that. So for a long time, it was like we should wait to see how the characters go, what better matchups there's going to be in due time, and all that sort of stuff. And then once it became like a really
the anime started in 2013.
Okay, that sounds about right. So then then the anime would have come out and people would have been really super hype into it around 2013. which would have been after the original Superman versus Goku, where 3D fights were still not the most common thing, to say the least.
Yeah.
So gaining the resources to be able to do 3D stuff was not easy. 2D wasn't impossible, but impractical.
Yeah, plus, like, I've tried looking up Attack on Titan character sprites.
Yeah.
They're not the best.
Not for lack of people trying, though. I want to throw that out there. Like, I'm sure you did the best you could, but really solid, good sprites. And on top of everything else, if they did use sprites, it would have to go against the cross-tag battle sprites for Blake, and those are extremely high quality.
Yeah, so
that was always going to be kind of iffy. So there's a variety of reasons why it took so long to finally get to this point. But it's finally happening.
Yeah,
and you know what?
I'm also just going to address this as well. Like, with Attack on Titan, now it's concluded. And the amount of people I saw just, like, praising Isayama, or just, like the hashtag thank you Isayama that was going on when the final chapter came out.
Yeah.
And knowing that, like, there's been bronze statues of Eren, Mikasa, Armin, and Levi in Isayama's hometown.
Yeah.
Like, this is a franchise that has left its mark. And Death Battle, it's about, like, not only just, like, pitting characters against each other to, like, see who wins and whatnot, but it's also, like, a celebration of the characters and their source material.
Yeah, no matter what anybody says, the people who make Death Battle really freaking love the majority of the characters they end up using, and they actually go to extreme lengths to try and make them not look bad. This doesn't always 100% work. There have been times where things have gone poorly. Everyone is aware of that, and they'll be the first to tell you, we probably very much definitely shouldn't have done that. Right out the gate, they regret the endings to Pokemon versus Digimon and Ben 10 versus Green Lantern a lot.
Yeah, I think those are the most prominent examples of, like, the ending of those fights,
could have been so much better. For the former, it could have been significantly less effed up. They could have...
No, that's even worse, because, they were going to premiere that episode live, and Torian got the animation finished, like, right before they were about to go live, and he couldn't ask Ben, like, hey, is this, like, look okay? So they kind of just had to go with it. And it was also going to be even worse.
Yeah.
Like,
that was what he came up with, you know, on a time crunch.
Yeah, and I think one of Chad's ideas, thank God it did not get in, but one of his ideas was for Red to jump over to Charizard, hug him, and then, like, it zooms in, you see a tear, like, go down his face, and you just hear him say, I'm sorry, and then...
Like, that was...
Like, I'm so happy that didn't make it into the episode.
That would have been the single most heartbreakingly, soul-shatteringly depressing thing that's ever happened in Death Battle by a very large margin.
Yeah.
So, the fact that it was almost worse than it was, and it was already really bad.
Like, in terms of, like, emotionally devastating, not, like...
Right. It wasn't... Ultimately, okay, the legs breaking, a bit much. But, the method of death wasn't that bad, but they could have portrayed it in a way to maybe make it a little more cartoony, maybe. You know, so it just hurt less. Like, that one was an emotion... That wasn't a gut punch. That was a punch you in the gut so hard, the hand ended up in there, they grabbed the intestines and pulled them out on the way. Like, I know. So, that was a thing. And they are the first people to tell you, we should have had Ben 10 go out in a much more dignified manner. There were a million ways we could have done that better, and we didn't, and they apologize. They have. You have to look for it, but they have on multiple occasions gone, we botched that. So, there you go.
But, yeah, and what I was gonna say is, like, there's all this stuff about Attack on Titan, and now it's ended, people are praising it and celebrating its creator, so why not celebrate it by having it in Death Battle? And also, one of Monty's characters, and he's someone that inspired this show, being in the season that's celebrating 10 years, I think that's just way too perfect.
Yeah, no, it's fitting for a multitude of reasons. I see no reason why this isn't a good time for it. In fact, I have reason to believe this was the original season premiere.
Really?
Yes. Because before this season began, they said the season premiere had a character from a series they've wanted on the show for a really long time. Yeah. And then it ended up being King Mickey versus Yoda, for 2 series they've already had on the show before. And what's the next 3D fight? Someone with a character they've never had from a series they've never had before.
Okay, on one hand, like, I can see that, but at the same time, RWBY Volume 8 wouldn't have finished by that point.
That might be why they pushed it.
And neither would the Attack on Titan manga.
That might be why they pushed it. Is it any coincidence this episode was announced after the series ended? Whereas, had it even been the 4th episode of the season, it wouldn't have been able to do that.
Well, no, Hayachi vs. Geese came out
after the third.
Okay, yeah.
But, so, maybe that combined with Volume 8 of RWBY not being over, they're like, okay, this would have been a good premiere, but... And considering that Yoda versus Mickey was source filmmaker, and this is a different team entirely, it totally makes sense that they could swap them around. And it's just like, we should wait for a better time. Let's wait for, we know for a fact that the Attack on Titan manga is about to be over, and Volume 8 of RWBY is about to end. Let's wait for both of those first.
Yeah,
and then basically have it happen at the first opportunity. I can't say that's for fact. That just sounds like something they would do from my years having worked with them. They're all about proper timing when it comes to these episodes.
Yeah, and
sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't work. Other times it does.
Yeah, and
like Captain Marvel versus Captain Marvel was only happened when it did, and because at all. Because wow, that's 2 Captain Marvel movies out at the same time. We should really probably just do this, even if it is a mismatch.
Yeah, okay, let's be real. Like, a lot of times they do characters because they're super relevant. They're in the public eye right now, so let's capitalize on that. Yeah, you gotta pay bills. Yeah.
See, a lot of people get really upset about, man, they never take chances. They always go with the safe bets. And I'm like, I get it. That is upsetting.
These people have families to feed.
Exactly. That's the thing. I get it. They don't take as many risks. We don't get a lot of Fox McCloud versus Bucky O'Hare's or McGruffs versus Smokies often.
But when we get them, it's special.
It is. That's the thing. So they have to do these sure things. They have to do the episodes they know are going to make 5 million views because they need to make the money. It's an unfortunate part of business. At least they're still trying to make them relevant at the time period,
Yeah.
So this was probably the last... Okay, no. Technically, the only other time they could ever possibly do this would be after the Attack on Titan anime officially ends.
Yeah, and that's not until next year.
Right. So
season 4 part 1 wrapped up. At least not any. Oh, that's something kind of hilarious. So the weekend this fight comes out, it's the same weekend the dub of Attack on Titan season 4 part 1 ends.
Yeah, so there you go. Basically, it was either right now or then.
Yeah.
After that, Attack on Titan's hype is only going to continue to get colder. It's always probably going to be remembered as, a classic. That thing we loved.
Yeah.
But I doubt it would. I doubt we'd ever get this much red hot strike the iron type moments.
Yeah. And also, you never know. That could just mean maybe Aaron's death battle will happen next year.
Right. That's totally possible.
Yeah. And you mentioned a different team for this episode. Yeah, from the looks of things and from what I've been hearing, it's the same team that did Hulk vs. Broly.
So they did a really good job with that. Now, obviously, as awesome as it would be, I don't think Blake and Mikasa are going to throw energy attacks around and
no, they're not
blow up planets.
No. Although I would love to see that, but They cannot.
Yeah, as would I. But they've proven that they can do really cool kinetic fist fights. There were a few scenes in Hulk vs. Broly that I thought were legitimately like, that's really good choreography.
Oh, and here's a little thing about Hulk vs. Broly and the team that animated it.
What's that?
They're RWBY animators.
Say what?
Yep.
Well, how about that? So they know how Blake do.
Yeah, and like before they did Hulk vs. Broly, they of course like watched like the Broly movie and
Yeah, obviously.
So
yeah.
Like if they can do that with Attack on Titan and taking what they already know of Blake can do in RWBY.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so basically, we know a very talented, one of their A teams, I'd say, for fight animations are on this fight. We also know that Brandon, while not using Titanic Shadows, is the guy that they've gotten to make the song for it.
Yeah,
and basically, basically his response to being asked if it was going to be, and he basically said, like, I just spent a bunch of time in the hyperbolic time chamber. Don't you want to see the results of my training?
Which has me also very curious. Like okay, a lot of the soundtracks, they get posted before the actual episode, and I keep thinking, God, I kind of want to hear it because I'm curious, but what if it spoils the result, like with Jack vs. Afro?
Okay, nothing is ever going to be as bad as that one.
Well, no, but it's just like, with this, and knowing, like, I commissioned Titanic Shadows, which is probably what made Brandon's even better, I'm just like, I want to hear it!
Oh, if absolutely nothing else, you can 100% say, definitively, that because you commissioned Titanic Shadows, this song is going to be the best it possibly can at this moment in time. Because you gave him some training before he did the thing for the official episode. Yeah,
and Brandon said, like, while he was working on the second batch of commissions, because I did watch his streams and comment a few here and there.
Yeah, so did I.
He mentioned that if a commissioned matchup ever became an official episode, he'd make a brand new track, like, for legal reasons, and it would give him a chance to outdo himself.
And he's the type of guy who's totally down for that. It's like, all right, I'm going to do even better this time.
And considering how well he did with that.
Exactly. In fact, a fight song I had commissioned, Star of Despair, Teddy versus Monokuma, he basically said, boy, I sure hope you liked Full Course Will, because that's what this song is if I really got in the zone.
Yeah, I think I saw him mention that, like, or at least someone say this is what that song should have been. Like, something along those lines.
Yeah, something to that effect. And Full Course Will was a good song, but although he is right. Basically, A Star of Despair, the song that he made for me, was just, it was that, but it was like, I understand the genre now. I know how to make this sound really good. So it's not and obviously it's still fitting for both characters. It's not just it's not a repurposed version of that song. That's not what that means.
Because I don't think there's really that much similar between Sanji and Rock Lee and Teddy from Persona 4 and freaking Monokuma from Danganronpa.
No, there is absolutely no similarity. I mean, I guess they're all kind of perverts a little, but aside from that, no.
Okay, aside from that one thing.
That one thing you suddenly realized is technically true. But, yeah. So, I have no doubt whatsoever that he's going to bring his A game, and while you're still always going to love Titanic Shadows because that's your song.
Yeah, and
I'm sure you'll love this one, too.
Yeah, and I have to admit, like, I've seen a lot of people, like, ask or, like, be disappointed by the fact that Titanic Shadows isn't going to be the fight track for this episode. And honestly, that just makes me think, wow, this song made a lot of people happy.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Money well spent. Like,
so, yeah, exactly. Absolutely. So, you can, without question, say, you know, even though you weren't involved in any real major way, you can safely say you personally helped contribute to make this episode even better than it would have been.
Oh, I could!
You can.
Oh, that's awesome!
So there you go. There's a thought to have in your brainscape.
Oh, that is never leaving my brain.
There you go. The soundtrack is just a little bit better because of you. Yep, there you go. Ta-da! I was hoping you. I was really hoping you hadn't realized that, so I could tell you.
Oh boy, and okay, in terms of like, I was really hoping Brandon would be the person to do the track for this episode, because okay, well the first one didn't get a custom track.
No, it didn't. Although, admittedly, that was a pretty baller song for Yang and Tifa to fight to.
Oh yeah.
I still have it in my music folder, and I don't even rewatch that fight. But I was like, damn, that's a good song.
But the second one, it had a song by Their Wolf.
Who I would like to point out right here and now is a phenomenally talented individual who has made countless incredible songs for Death Battle over the years.
Yeah, like, they've made so many good ones. I don't think that one is the best.
It's not that it's a bad song. I've listened to it. It's, in fact, probably the only part of the episode I actually have seen. But it's forgettable, I think. It doesn't really sound like it's Persona or RWBY inspired. And more just kind of, yep, there's a song that I guess maybe some graceful people would fight to, I guess.
And which does fit, but it just doesn't have that like RWBY or Persona like essence.
That's true. So again, I can't stress this enough. He's made some of my favorite Death Battle tracks. This was just a weaker one.
Yeah, and what made me think of Brandon was because, like, even if I didn't commission Titanic Shadows or even see the possibility of doing that, he did covers of RWBY songs before. So I've always thought if anyone should be on a RWBY track, it should be him.
And let's just say the fact that you also got Reach Out to the Mirror commission for me just helped make that even more clear.
Well, I mean, he also commissioned like a couple other RWBY tracks.
Oh yeah, no, there were a few. There was one that had he did like Jurihan versus Mercury.
Yep.
And I want to say he did Neo versus someone.
That girl from My Hero with the blood. I forget.
Oh right,
her
yeah,
name exactly.
yes, Psycho Stabby Bloody Lady. Her.
Yeah.
So, dude has experience.
Yeah.
Trying to emulate the style of RWBY, and he's done it a good number of times.
Yeah, and he told me in like a private chat that Attack on Titan makes him want to, and I quote, melt faces. So, I'm really, really excited for the track and the animation.
It's going to be great. Like, we have gotten exactly one screenshot of the animation coming up.
Like, just from that one screenshot, I had this thought, like, at first glance, I could buy someone mistaking that as, like, a shot from a RWBY episode.
Yeah, at first casual glance, you could be all like, whoa, hang on, what? And then you look closer, and then you realize there's, like, a kind of a shading filter over everything that makes it look a little different.
Yeah, like, it's not quite at the RWBY animation quality, but it's, like, close enough where I feel like you could mistake it at first.
I feel like it's pretty safe to say that I feel like the model they're using, which is the current one, the volume 8 and 7. Yeah. Oh, actually, specifically, I think Volume 8, because they did make some minor adjustments for Volume 8. Blake, I feel like it is, in fact, the model that they use for the show that they're using here. They're just using it in a different program with different lighting and shaders on it, so it looks a little different. Yeah,
and Mikasa's model is made completely from scratch, which I have to admit, it looks great.
Yeah.
And God, seeing them actually just, like, in this together.
Also, you casually brought this up, and it's something I hadn't thought of at all.
Oh, I need to shout out C-Spadina here, because he's the one who pointed this out.
Oh, okay, then you go ahead.
I think it was the thing that you were about to bring up.
Yeah, but you're a better person to bring it up. If you know what I'm going to say, then say it.
So, a few years back, I reached out to you for a commission that was just of the two fighting.
And at some point, I want to redo it, but go ahead.
I
did, in fact, draw Blake and Mikasa fighting.
I'm gonna just pull the two up on screen at the same time. Notice anything? Like, do they look similar at all?
So I'm just throwing this out there. Yeah, I know my art doesn't hold up to that work of beauty, but let's just look at the general concept of the pose. There is more of a similarity. 100% a coincidence, by the way. I'm under no delusions otherwise. But it is a really funny and interesting coincidence.
And it's so weird, like, just wanting this fight for so long, like, seeing it get announced, and just seeing a screenshot of it, it's just like...
It's like, oh, damn. They didn't just announce it. It's happening. It's real. I saw a picture of it. Whoa.
Yeah, and it's looking so good so far.
And I saw a picture of it, and I got so hyped, I had to print it on a cake, and I ate it.
Oh, yeah, I did that, because I gotta talk about this. So, Luis, the animation director for Death Battle, usually when an episode comes out, he's like, hey, get this trending on YouTube, and I'll share a shot from the next one. But instead, I think he meant to say, get us trending, and you'll get a frame from Blake vs. Mikasa.
Uh-huh.
He put eat a frame by mistake. So, when I saw that, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take that way too seriously. So, I got it printed on a cake, and I've started eating it.
How is it?
Okay, in all seriousness, it's just like a regular, like...
No, I know. Just, is it an okay cake? Is it alright?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the actual cake itself, yeah, it's alright. But
yeah,
the frame itself, oh god, yes!
And, so, here's the thing. This happened earlier today, in fact. Well, I guess it's technically tomorrow for me, but whatever.
Yeah.
But this happened today, basically. He said, he took the pictures of the cake, told Luis, hey, I took your thing literally, and I'm eating this frame you gave us. And then he went to bed.
And then I woke up, and oh damn,
his Twitter was on fire.
Yeah,
because not only did Luis reply to it, he also quote tweeted it, and so did the official Death Battle Twitter.
Like, oh my god, and so many people have been responding to that, like, wow, that's dedication.
Yeah, it's like, well, damn, this dude's feeling pretty hype.
Hey, if it's your dream fight, go big or go home.
Then you did.
Oh, man. Oh, and the freaking analysis previews. Like, whenever they do them, there's always, like, this little, like, twist in the title that's, like, a pun.
Yeah, sort of pun, generally.
It's great. I love these ones. Like, Blake Belladonna overshadows Death Battle. Mikasa Ackerman launches an attack on Death Battle.
There you go. Those are pretty solid.
I love those. Oh, that's so good.
It's pretty fantastic.
Okay,
so,
we...
I have a couple questions I actually want to ask you as a quasical interview sort of thing.
Okay.
Would you have preferred a different model of Blake for this fight?
I like the idea of, like, the modern one, really.
You like the newest one?
Yeah.
Okay, so, like, if you had the option, you wouldn't have, like, said, like, a revamped version of, like, her original Volume 1 outfit or something?
I mean, that would have been nice, but... Nah, I'd want to go with, like, the modern thing.
That's fair. Okay.
Like,
let's see.
admittedly,
Yeah, go ahead.
Admittedly, I do wish that Mikasa had, like, the more modern treatment as well. Like, this...
Yeah, this is technically her more iconic look at the moment. In the manga, and maybe in some of the later parts of the anime right now, they might have given her the new outfit.
Yeah, no, they have.
Okay, then the version of Mikasa they're using in the fight is basically what you get when you just straight up Google her.
Yeah.
Like that, like it's her original outfit, and it makes sense.
Yeah, like I'm good.
It's more recognizable.
I'm good with recognizable and iconic or modern, like whichever.
Yeah, whichever one really works. So, all right, that's cool. That's cool. I just thought I saw it and I was like, that makes sense. But I wonder how he feels, because that's how I'm gonna be fully honest with you. Literally every new piece of information I get, I'm like, but wow, man, what does Mark think? So, second question. What do you think the instigation of the fight will be?
Okay, we talked about this off camera because
Yes.
from this screenshot, it kind of looks like they're fighting a menagerie.
Which would make sense because, I mean, you know, Ryu and Jin fought in the Maiden Vault once. So it makes sense that they would just have access to a place in RWBY that would make sense for Blake to be fighting in. So yeah, let's go with Menagerie. It's a big open area. It would also fit Mikasa because she needs big wide open areas to fight.
Yeah. Also, there's a lot of alleyways where you could have, like, there's this scene in Attack on Titan Season 2 where Levi's, like, evading a squad of soldiers that are trying to gun him down. And the freaking camera work on it is so damn awesome! Like...
So, yeah, basically...
If they recreate that in this fight, then I'm popping off. Like, that's the first time I've used that phrase, by the way, but oh my god.
Yeah, like, I've
cool.
never felt like that was an appropriate thing to ever say, but now I'm doing it. So it's probably, at least it kind of looks like they're happening in Menagerie. So that would sort of kind of imply that Blake is just there because that's where her home is. Yeah. So for whatever reason, she's home. But then that would imply that for whatever reason or another, Mikasa is the one who went to Menagerie, which could imply that she is the instigator of the fight.
Now, I've been trying to think about, like, what would be a good reason for them to fight, and let's be real.
That's also reasonable.
Let's be real, there probably isn't one, because...
Yeah.
Like, the problem with, like, two heroic characters...
These aren't characters who would kill each other under any circumstance.
Yeah. Or if they met, their first thought wouldn't be, I'ma fight you.
Yeah, no, it would definitely be more, I don't know, maybe awkward exchanges of greetings, I guess. Because they're not exactly the most social flowers of all.
Nah. But, I always thought it would kind of make more sense if Mikasa was the instigator. Like, the best idea I could think of was, like, let's say she spots Blake, like, running across some rooftops or being sneaky, and maybe she thinks, oh, this might be, like, another Titan spy after Eren or something. And... yeah, Blake...
Excusing whatever the hell reason she's doing in Menagerie for.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about one I've been trying to think of, like, before this even happened.
Right, just, like, in general, how do I see a fight between these two being misinterpreted enough to cause it to happen?
Yeah, and, like, the best I could ever think of was, like, you know, Blake's just trying to get through this area to meet back up with, you know, Team RWBY. And, well, Mikasa not knowing that, and because she would be thinking, oh, I've had so many people, like, after Eren from, like, this place where everyone is just Titans, apparently. Like, and even, like, okay, she would never say this, but what if she said to Blake, like, no, I've had enough of your kind here?
Oof.
And that just makes Blake think, oh, this girl's a big old racist.
Well, now I have no qualms with beating the crap out of you. See, that's probably one of the best ways to justify fights like this. Gargantuan misunderstandings that go way too far.
And accidentally push the other character's berserker button.
Exactly.
But, like, with Mikasa and Menagerie, I'm not sure how. Well, at least it looks like Menagerie.
It could totally just kind of maybe look like it. It would make sense to me if it was, because...
It could just be some random town.
It could just be random town file that they have. It just, a cityscape area makes the most sense for the two to fight in.
Yeah. Or a forest, either one works.
Yeah, but I think a town works best. I mean, if I had to choose, all right, are we going to have them fight in a forest or a town? I think a town works. So... okay, but here's an idea. Here's a question. Straight up, it was your choice. Like, hey, they come up to you for some reason and they say, your only mate, who's the instigator?
I feel like Mikasa would make the most sense.
You think it would make most sense for Mikasa to be the one to throw the first proverbial punch?
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense to me. I mean, I'm asking you these things because you know these two. I know you know these two. It's exactly like if you asked me if Ratchet and Clank versus Jack and Daxter had never happened, and they're like, man, who do you think would start the fight? Daxter. Oh, no, he'd talk smack a little too hard, and that wouldn't go well in the end. And that's why that fight starts the way it does, by the way. Because I was even straight up asked, like, how do you think this fight would start? Daxter would take things too far.
Oh, Daxter.
And because if there's anything, and I love this about Jack and Daxter, is just they have, for good reason, admittedly, in their universe, have an absurdly large amount of confidence in their abilities. We've beaten everybody we've gone up against. What are you two weirdos gonna do? A lot. But I digress. It's like, no, I know how this is gonna go.
Yeah, and talking of knowing how things are gonna go, should we talk about that aspect?
Okay, so then my final question, or at least, final major question. Who do you think is a win in this fight?
Alright, so I've looked into this fight probably way too much.
Yep, you have in fact rewatched all of RWBY and Attack on Titan.
Just when, like, the Attack on Titan character was teased at the end of Hulk vs. Broly. Yeah. I sat myself down and watched through everything. Which, by the way, was one hell of a good ride.
Yeah.
And, I also revisited the manga because, it still hasn't all been animated yet.
Mm-hmm.
And just trying to take absolutely everything I could into account, every possible scaling, all the possible arguments, like, all the feats that these two have done.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I can say, with absolute confidence, like, I'm trying to think of like the best way to word this, but
go ahead. Take your time. The drum roll is drumming.
I believe Blake should win.
Okay. Follow-up question. Does Mikasa have any advantage over Blake in combat?
She has some. Now, a casual viewer might just see her as like the more ruthless character, like the more like
the more likely to go for the kill at the start.
Yeah, and
I could see that being true.
Yeah, she's also the more serious combatant.
I'd say, yeah, no, Mikasa definitely has more experience legitimately actually murdering things. At least people.
Yeah, and I'll get into experience a little later.
Please do, yeah.
She has mobility thanks to the vertical maneuvering equipment, or ODM gear, like, whichever. Mm-hmm. I'll say ODM gear just because it's easier, but in the manga, it's called vertical maneuvering equipment. So that gives her mobility, but it's a bit of a double-edged sword.
Right? Is it? How so?
Well, it gives her mobility, and she's been stated as, like, quite fast with it. It runs on a limited supply of gas.
Oh, that's a problem.
And, yeah, she moves really fast with it because she's using up more of the gas. That's a thing that kind of, like, screws her over in the first season. Like, she pushes it and herself too far, and it runs out, like, before she can get it refueled.
So, if she were conceivably fighting somebody else who was also pretty good at maneuverability, it's possible she could run out of gas before the fight ended.
Yeah. So, Blake holds that advantage, like, in the long run.
Okay.
Now, as for experience, I'm gonna have to get into something weird about Attack on Titan. And Okay. Now, you watching. If you only watch the anime, and you're not caught up on, like, the manga, and you don't want to know spoilers, watch with caution, or skip ahead.
Yeah, because he's going to talk about literally just about every goddamn thing. Don't worry. So, if you don't want spoilers, you probably shouldn't watch the death battle either, but I digress.
That too. Like, warning for the actual episode, there might be manga spoilers.
Like, I don't know if they're going to flat out say how the series ends, but they could.
Yeah, they totally could.
But go ahead.
So, there's this thing called paths. And it's something that links all the... Okay, well, everyone in Attack on Titan, at least like everyone like, of the main cast, they're known as a race of people called Eldians.
Okay.
And they originate to this young girl who became the first ever Titan called Ymir.
Okay.
And what happened was she gained the power of the Titans. She got hitched with this king. They ruled the land. They had 3 daughters, which were named Maria, Rose, and Cena.
Okay.
Which are the names of the wolves in Attack on Titan.
All right.
So, hence where those came from. And everyone who, like, was, like, from that line, like, from Ymir, her daughters, and everyone beyond that point, they're Eldians.
All right, right.
Or subjects of Ymir. And paths is a thing that, like, links all of them, like, back to her. And, what it really connects are 2 things. Like,
Okay.
Titan shifters, and there's 9 of them. Like, it links all of them to each other, hence why they get memories of the previous user.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is the Ackerman clan.
Oh no! I happen to know what that could imply.
So, way back when, this king wanted to create, like, essentially the perfect human weapon. Like, as sort of like a bodyguard sort of thing. And they did, like, multiple experiments with Titans, humans, and whatnot, and the byproduct of this were Ackermans. And these are people that... yeah, Mikasa is one, hence her last name being Ackerman.
Yeah, in case you missed that, Mart.
Yeah,
She's a little bit better than your average foot soldier.
yeah, and by how much better? Ackermans, they have this thing where, like, they'll find someone that they, like, latch to. Like, someone who, like, they'll stand by, like, as long as possible. When they find that person, their Ackerman side awakens.
Okay.
And Eren describes it as them gaining Titan strength while still remaining in human form. This happens to Mikasa when she's a child.
Damn.
And yeah, the person she latches to is Eren, of course.
Obviously.
Yeah, like who else was it going to be? Now, when Ackermans go through this, it links them to paths. So not only do they gain Titan strength, but they gain, and I quote, the battle experience of every previous Ackerman. So
basically what you're saying is, Mikasa has the experience advantage. She's got more fighting in her.
yeah, despite them being the exact same age, I'm not joking, they're both 19 at this point.
That is kind of hilarious.
Mikasa,
Considering neither of them started at that age.
yeah, Mikasa is like sitting at over a century of experience.
There you go.
And I would argue that her arsenal is inherently like more destructive thanks to the Thunder Spears.
As far as pure kaboom is considered, then yes, her arsenal is more inherently destructive.
Yeah, but the other downside to that is her swords aren't exactly meant to last. Like, they do break over time, or if she like hits something that's too hard, they just shatter. And that has happened before.
To be fair, Campbell Shroud has not had the greatest track record of staying in one piece either, has it?
Okay, it's broken once. And that was from a very powerful slash.
I'm just saying.
Right,
but yes, your point stands. Your point stands.
Yeah, basically, what Mikasa's saying is she has way more experience than Blake, and she has the inherently like more destructive arsenal, but it's not as refinable as Blake's arsenal.
Right. I would say
Refinable and
Blake.
reliable, I would say.
Yeah, I would say Blake is definitely more versatile thanks to her dust.
Yeah, like she's got fire, ice, earth, electric.
Right.
She's got
and
like,
I mean,
all sorts.
Yeah, so like it's not as, like Blake can't blow up a house, but she's got more options to keep a foe on their toes.
Yeah.
Even if she didn't have any dust at all, just her shadow clones alone would trip you up pretty bad. Like, I think I just killed them. Okay, or not.
Yeah. I want to see Mikasa's reaction to that.
It was like, what the hell?
And a couple scenes I thought would be kind of cool. Like, goes to attack Blake, shadow clone, it's the earth clone, and Mikasa's blades, like, break. So, reload those. Goes to attack the ice clone, but her blades just get trapped. So, just ditch those, and, I don't know, as Blake is attacking, dodge, and then just smack Blake in the back of the head or something. Like, I thought that could be a really cool shot. Like, you think, oh, shoot, Mikasa's in trouble, but then just like, nope, bam! Like, oh, that was dope.
Right.
Now, as for Blake's advantages, aside from versatility...
You mean strength, speed, and durability?
Well, we'll get through those, so...
But am I wrong, though?
No, you're not, but let me just go through them one at a time. So...
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, there is one feat Mikasa has where she survived this, like, giant explosion. Like, she was in ground zero of it, and a friend of mine, Joe, calced it as being, like, over 300 tons of TNT.
Okay.
So, which is nuts, but, it knocked her out for about 5 hours.
That is not great.
Yeah. I mean, it's still way better than anything, like, we could do.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, we get hit with 300 tons of TNT, we're dead.
Yeah, absolutely. A tiny fraction of that would kill a normal person. I'm not saying it's unimpressive.
Yeah. See, although Death Valley could see it and they could, like, interpret it as something else. Like, cows can be different for, like, different people because, like, different methods and maybe, like, some context is missing. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something that I'm gonna go back to, like, for when I get to strength. Like, some stuff that I realized Blake could scale to.
Right. But let's, like, even without scaling. But yeah, go ahead.
There's also just the fact that Blake has an aura.
Which is instantaneously already a really good defensive mechanism.
Yeah, and...
Because, I mean, here's the thing. Mikasa has to fight through Blake's aura before she can land fatal hits in, whereas anything that Blake hits Mikasa with is already potentially a kill shot.
Yeah. Though, to give Mikasa credit, like, the maneuverability and the experience that she has, you could argue that maybe she could get to the point where she does break Blake's aura.
Right. Oh, I'm almost positive in the animation she will.
Yeah, like if Blake's aura doesn't break, I'm gonna be surprised.
Yeah, easily.
Okay, speed, that's super easy, because the fastest thing Attack on Titan characters have done is evade bullets. Like, Mikasa, Levi, and a bunch of the other Servicor have done it. Hanji has dodged a point-blank shot from a rifle. They've also evaded machine gun fire. So, they're decently fast.
Yeah.
Blake, on the other hand, has, and a quote from Ben himself, casually dodged lightning.
Fun fact, he, happened to say that long before this fight was properly announced, making it seem very likely that something RWBY this way came.
Yeah. And I say casually dodge lightning because in her fight with the Sea Fei Long alongside Sun, it fires, like, multiple blasts of its lightning breath at her. She evades them, like, back to back.
Yeah, no, she can dodge lightning, bare minimum. And even if she herself didn't, she's comparable to Mercury, who has.
Yeah, and that's also backed up because Yang can keep pace with him, and both Yang and Blake keep pace with Adam, so there we go.
Yeah.
But I was also going to say, even if you want to say, like, oh, the Si Fei Long's breath isn't lightning, it visibly electrocutes Sun.
Yeah.
It channels through the metal parts of the boat that they're on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in the RWBY companion book, which is essentially like an encyclopedia, it's officially listed as lightning breath.
Then there you go. Blake
Also,
can dodge lightning.
Also, you've got the lightning feet from Mercury, and then scaling to Yang and Adam to back that up.
Exactly. So, it's indisputable. You could make some shaky arguments or some well thought out but not completely substantiated, references to being significantly faster.
Oh,
but
yeah.
we can safely say definitively she is faster than lightning, which is a lot faster than a bullet.
Yeah.
Even a more high caliber bullet, of which I don't think the ones in Attack on Titan are that high caliber.
I don't believe they are now. And you bring that up. There is some scaling I realized. Okay, this is entirely unnecessary.
It's unneeded, but
they could bring it up if they really wanted to. So Pura Nikos.
Remember her?
Yeah. Same year at Beacon as Blake. And those two have traded blows before in the food fight. Yeah, it wasn't that long, but still, it's something.
Yeah.
And I should bring up, in After the Fall, Team RWBY are mentioned as the best of their year.
That seems like a safe bet, just
Yeah.
a casual observation.
Yeah, so just based on stuff like that, and just the fact they were in the same year at Beacon, they should be in a similar level.
If absolutely nothing else,
and even if you don't want to say, oh, they're in a similar level to when they're at Beacon, Blake's gotten better since.
Exactly. Here's the thing: if Blake wasn't Pura's equal at the time, I'd say she probably is now.
Yeah, and
that's lowballing.
And you might be questioning, but why are you bringing up Pura? What has she done? Oh, she's dodged lasers.
She has.
Yeah, in her fight with Penny, Paul, and Dina, Penny fires like multiple lasers at her, just like Blake got lightning fired at her. She dodges them back to back.
Yeah, and we've seen Penny shoot a lot of lasers over the years. They are lasers.
Yeah, and the whole like, are they really lasers thing? Some people say, oh, they repel her, so they're not actual lasers. There's a little difference between the lasers I'm talking about and the lasers that repel Penny. The ones that repel Penny, they're not lasers, they're her thrusters. Like, they're the ones that come out of her body. The lasers I'm referring to are the ones that are fired out of her swords, which are what Pura dodged.
Right.
Those move in straight, consistent speeds. They burn anything they come into contact with, they don't explode. The only other thing we didn't see them do was reflect off of anything.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, look, that argument's entirely unnecessary, but it is one that does exist.
And that's in case you want to, for some reason, as you said earlier, at least off camera, if you wanted to somehow, for some reason, even though it's unsubstantiated, scale Mikasa to Eren's Titan forms.
Yeah. Oh no, I'll get to that when I get into strength.
Okay, because that's where it really would come up.
Yeah. Oh, actually, speaking of, let's get into strength. That's the thing that Mikasa's most well known for, is, like, being strong.
Yeah.
Like, she's stronger than pretty much everybody in Attack on Titan. At least all the humans and whatnot. And it might be questionable, is she stronger than Levi? I honestly think they should be around the same level, considering they're both Archimans, and they're both referred to as, like, the best of the best. So, there's that. One thing that she did in the really recent anime episode is lifting a whole bunch of railroad tracks, like, just over her shoulder.
Alright, that's impressive.
Now, I looked into how much they could weigh. She's holding what looks like to be about 4 at once.
Okay.
Yeah, those can weigh about a ton each.
Okay, so at least 4 tons.
Yeah. That's at least... hang on, let me just find the thing. Because I have, like, all this stuff written down. Oh, before this point, that's all been from memory.
Right, gotcha.
Where is it? Okay, season 4. Yep, 4 tons. There we go.
Okay.
Just making sure. There aren't like a whole lot of Blake lifting feats to really compare to that. One feat that she does have is when she was tied up by Trifa, a spider faunus.
Right. So spider silk.
Yeah, and
but proportionate spider silk from a human, basically.
Yeah, and that should be comparable to steel.
Right.
And well, yeah, we don't see it on camera. Blake gets herself free from it with just her bare hands. Like,
so
her own strength. I remember, like, there was an argument, oh, maybe she had Gamble's Shroud. It got knocked out of her hands when Yuma, a bat faunus, jumped on her back and knocked out of her grasp. So, ripping through the spider silk, that's just through her sheer strength.
So,
Mikasa's...
she's at least able. She's able to bust up steel with flexing.
Yeah. Mikasa's never done anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's get into like really, really crazy stuff because, yeah, Eren says the Archimans, like, after they awaken, they gain some Titan strength.
Okay.
Few things. I don't believe we can scale Mikasa to Titans.
It seems pretty unreasonable to do so.
Like, okay, yeah, she takes them down, not by sheer strength.
Yeah, no, she outmaneuvers and speeds them around, and speeds around them. Like she never, like, picks up and throws the damn things.
Yeah, like, she never punches one in the face and knocks it down.
And knock them over or anything, yeah.
Like, if she did that, then that would be allowed. But she kills them by exploiting an instant kill weak spot.
Right.
So, that scaling doesn't really work. Also, Mikasa, Levi, Kenny, and any other Archiman we've seen on the show, they've never displayed strength comparable to a Titan. So, just looking at that, it's a bit hard to buy. And even then, Eren's exact words were... Okay, I can't remember his exact words, but it's basically some Titan strength. So even he says it's not 1-to-1.
Right.
But for the sake of argument, let's say she could scale to it.
Okay. Let's just throw that out there and just say, yeah, she's as strong as a Titan.
Yeah. For the record, I'm deliberately overestimating Mikasa's strength, and you will see why.
Mm-hmm.
One of Eren's most iconic feats as a Titan is lifting that giant boulder. Unfortunately, I could never actually work out how heavy that was. I looked up a calc online, so take that with a grain of salt. But this guy calced it as over either 5,000 tons or 7,000 tons.
Okay.
Though he has this other feat where he lifted a Malian Navy ship above his head. And I looked up, okay, so how heavy are Navy ships? The highest I could find that isn't an aircraft carrier, which this was not, was 20,000 tons. So let's go with that and assume that Mikasa could do the same thing.
She can't, but let's say she could lift a 20,000-ton ship.
Now, here are some feats that I think Blake could reasonably scale to.
Okay.
In Volume 6, RWBY strikes that Colossus, you know, the giant mech that Cordovan was piloting.
Yes.
Yeah, she strikes it and it staggers.
Alright.
So, that's a pretty big hit, considering how massive a robot that is. So then, you know, Blake and RWBY, they should be comparable in strength.
At bare minimum.
Yeah.
If anything, there's actually arguments to be made that Blake might actually be physically stronger than RWBY is. So,
Yeah.
if anything, she has more obvious feats.
Yep, and this is one that I realized not long ago.
What's that?
You know how we were comparing her to, like, Yang and Mercury? Like, would you say Blake should be comparable to Yang, at least, like, in her base? Like, before Yang taps into her semblance? Okay. And Yang is about even with Mercury. Right?
Okay. Alright, that's fair.
Okay. Now let's talk about Yatsuhashi Daichi from Team Coffee.
Alright, let's do that.
You remember his fight with Mercury in the Vital Festival tournament when he struck Mercury with his giant F-off sword? And it caused, like, the ground around him to, like, quake, shatter, and it erupted several, like, geysers around them.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll admit, I have no idea how powerful of a hit that is. But
Right.
That's gotta be, like, absurdly high if it's hard enough to erupt a geyser. And
Yeah, pretty definitively.
yeah, and the fact that Mercury just tanked it, and he defeated Yatsuhashi in that fight just by himself. And keep in mind, Mercury doesn't have a semblance. So that was just based on his strength and skill.
Purely alone, yeah.
Yeah. Yang can match that, and Blake should be on a similar level at the bare minimum.
Sounds reasonable, honestly.
There's some reasonable scaling. However, even if that wasn't enough. Now, this last one is a little iffy, admittedly. Let's go back to Penny.
Alright.
Now, first off, to try and justify this, you remember the Hound and how it kind of whomped Penny?
Yeah.
Blake is the only other member of the cast to get back up and keep fighting it.
It's true. Any other time somebody got a direct hit from it, they were just... bleh.
Yeah, they were let down and out. And also, Blake held the Hound back when it tried to take RWBY.
Which is something... Admittedly, Ren isn't the strongest character in the show, but it's something he very clearly could not do.
Yeah. So, Blake has that going for her. So, this whole, like, her and Penny thing, it's going around. Oh, also, it was her who first, like, started pulling Penny back when she tried to fly away with RWBY.
Right.
So, now that that's been established, let's talk about Penny lifting Amity.
Yeah, let's do that casually.
So, while Amity's exact weight and size aren't really known, I've seen a calc by someone where they scaled Penny to the part that she was pushing, and then used that to get Amity's, like, overall size. Let's say it's made of, like, a steel and concrete composition, accounting for a 70% hollow interior.
Mm-hmm.
That would mean Amity Coliseum would weigh over 2 billion tons.
Now, we're not saying that this is definitively true. But if we're going to baselessly say Mikasa's as strong as a Titan, I'd say that this is more clear-cut scaling.
Yeah, and so if we compared, like, let's say Eren's, like, lifting the ship feet to Penny lifting Amity, and compared those to Blake and Mikasa directly, this would make Blake over 100,000 times stronger.
Yeah.
But even if we
And
say,
this is not,
okay...
This is highballing, but yeah.
Even if we say, okay, that scaling for Blake is a little dubious.
Right.
Let's dial it back and say she can only scale to 1% of Penny.
Okay, let's do that.
She'd still be 100 times stronger.
So, yeah. If we're gonna highball Mikasa, you have to highball Blake, and even if you lowball the highball, Blake has the advantage.
Yeah, at least in terms of, like, physical stuff. So, like she's faster, she's stronger, she can probably take, like, more hits before going down. Whereas Mikasa has, like, mobility. Admittedly, it's not gonna last, like, forever. But she has over a century of experience to pull from, and even then, Blake has fought and defeated like more experienced opponents before.
That's true.
Like, granted, they didn't have anywhere near as much, but it's still something to keep in mind. I also really wanted to look in, like, how strong Elm is, because she can take hits from Elm and keep fighting, but I don't know how strong Elm is, so I can't say how tough that is. Like, okay, because admittedly, a lot of calcs I mention, those are just ones I've seen other people do.
Right.
I'm not good with that.
Yeah.
But,
not going to pretend that we have any real idea how to do that very well.
yeah. Although, one thing I can say for sure, Blake can cut through robots with ease.
And she did that as far back as the Black trailer.
Yeah, and Mikasa, she cuts through what are essentially giant people, and I think cutting through a robot is tougher than cutting through a person.
And, I mean, Blake chops those things up into ribbons. Very casually, honestly.
And, okay, I want to just, like, shoot down a thing that I have seen some people bring up. And this is something that someone tried to say to me at a convention once.
And you slapped them silly for it.
Okay, no.
Well, you should have.
Anyway, so I've seen people say that Mikasa can cut through hardened Titan skin, which is, like, the hardest material in Attack on Titan. It's what the walls are made of. Like, you're not gonna get through that.
Alright.
Except she doesn't. Like, she's tried, but her blades shatter when she does it. Like,
so, theoretically...
Like, in her fight with the female Titan and the armored Titan, she tried slashing their hardened parts. Her blades just broke immediately.
So, while we can't say for certain that she's not... She might be strong enough to do so. Her swords sure aren't.
You know what? That's also a good point.
So, I mean, it's feasible. We can't say for certain, no, she's definitely not strong enough to do that. She might be if she had a stronger sword. Maybe. We also can't say for sure that she could.
Yeah, and, well, yeah, Gamble Shroud has been broken before.
Boy, how has it?
It was broken by an opponent who, with one sword swing, atomized a giant robot.
That is true. He did go and do that. It's impossible to deny that that is a thing that one got done did.
Yeah. So, I'm fairly confident Blake is going to win this.
It seems like it's probably going to be pretty good. It's a pretty strong odds.
Yeah, and... Oh boy, cue the comments of people saying, oh, it's just going to be because of RT bias. Sure. Like, whatever helps you sleep.
If any of you actually bring up Rooster Teeth bias for Blake winning, I will find you.
That's coming from him, not me.
You can use your imagination. Because, no, they are not. I wish they were.
Yeah, and look, let's also just, like, address that with Death Battle as well. Like, yeah, people can say whatever they like, oh, this character's gonna win because bias. If that were the case, a lot of episodes would have different outcomes.
We've talked about that sort of thing a lot. Hell, even the people behind the show have constantly talked about how if we just got to choose whoever we liked most won, the greater majority of episodes would not have ended the way they did.
Yeah, like Goku would have beaten Superman.
Easily. Goku's infinitely more popular. Or even if they personally weren't a big fan, do you think they would seriously let people get that upset? Like, even if you can't properly, like, predict how people are going to respond to a fight, if a character is easily and by far more popular, why would they have them lose? That would just be stupid.
Yeah, and also they probably would have had Ben beat Green Lantern.
Hey, that's what I was trying to say without saying it.
Let's see. Also, Street Fighter wouldn't have that massive losing streak they had.
No, because they freaking love Street Fighter.
Killer Instinct probably would have won more fights.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, Bucky O'Hare would have beaten Fox McCloud.
That's true.
Trying to think of other examples. I want to say Deathstroke probably would have beaten Deadpool, just because...
It seems possible.
Like, when he was animating it, Torian wanted Deathstroke to win.
I have no idea what this is even saying. I'm reading a comment from somebody, and I don't know what point they're trying to make.
Well, what's the point?
Okay, I'm going to say this right now. Mikasa is gonna win. Blake does not stand a goddamn chance. I'm sorry, but if you repeat Lewis, take a giant naked freaky man every day, and still work Stone Cold Deadpan, I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to handle anything.
What?
What does any of that mean? I'm trying to understand what they're saying.
Wait,
who's Lewis?
I don't know.
Like, the first part of the sentence, okay, but if you repeat Lewis, take a giant naked freaky man every day, and still work Stone Cold Deadpan, I'm pretty sure... Okay. Running this through a translator 7 times, I believe the point they're trying to make is... if you can fight Titans, and they're freaky and weird every day, and still not flinch, maybe? Then I'm sure you could handle anything?
But
that doesn't really...
Like, I get that. Titans are, like, bigger and admittedly more threatening than Grimm.
Generally, I could believe that. So I think that's their point. Yeah. I think their point is Titans seem much more threatening and problematic than Grimm are on average.
But there's a few differences. Like, one, Mikasa's trained, like, for several years to exploit that one instant kill weak point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, okay, get to the back of the neck, slice, dead. Whereas with Blake, she actually has to, like, face that Grimm's strength. Like, match it, surpass it, all that stuff. Like, I honestly think if you, like, swapped their worlds, the experiences would be completely different.
Right. I feel like while Mikasa could easily train herself to be able to fight Grimm, I feel like if you dropped Mikasa into the world of RWBY, she'd have a harder time adjusting than Blake would to the Attack on Titan universe.
Yeah.
I think. That might be... I'm not going to say that definitively. That's just my personal feeling. Like, I'm not saying, oh, Mikasa would be screwed. No. If anything...
Well, it depends on, like, what situation she was dropped in. Like...
Exactly.
Hey, if she were allowed to, like, attend an academy, like, get an aura and a semblance, then hell yeah, she would be amazing.
Yeah, but if you just... Like, okay, you transport Mikasa into just a group of Grimm. I'm not saying she would lose, but I feel like she would have a harder time trying to figure out how to go about that than I think Blake could take down a Titan.
Oh, yeah. Like, she could just, like... Oh, I didn't bring up her sword beams.
Yeah, that's true. She does have sword beams.
Yeah, and those things can tear up concrete and steel.
Which are things we generally see Attack on Titan characters not able to easily cut through on a daily basis.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure, like, one sword beam would cleave a Titan in half.
So, like, she wouldn't even... Like, oh, but Blake wouldn't know about the weak point. It's arguable Blake wouldn't need to find a weak point. So... Now, we should very, very firmly state, for the record, you love Mikasa.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You think she is an amazing character. Easily your favorite in the show.
Yeah, hands down. Like, my top 5, going from 5 to 1, I would say Armin, Historia, Sasha, Levi, Mikasa. Although I swap Sasha and Levi sometimes.
That's fair. So, like, I understand you might like, oh, gee, the guy with the RWBY podcast, is betting on Blake. Of course he did. Look, he doesn't have an Attack on Titan podcast or anything, but that doesn't mean he isn't a super fan. He very much is.
Yeah, and I also want to add this. So I watched my fair share of anime.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really a kind of person who would, like, sit down and read something. Like,
generally.
Like,
yeah.
Like, if I were given a Harry Potter book, I would get one page in and then just go, why am I doing this? It's on DVD.
I could just watch the movie.
Yeah.
People would get angry about that, but it is the facts.
Yeah, or, like, if I started reading the Marvel Civil War comic, I'd just be like, why don't I just watch the movie?
No, well, that's for an entirely separate reason. The movie is just a much better version of the comic. Like, ask any Marvel fan. They'll tell you, oh, no, man, Civil War sucked. But yes, point stands.
Attack on Titan is one of the only animes where I've genuinely wanted to get into the manga.
Mm-hmm. That says a lot.
Yeah, like, look, I like Dragon Ball. I've never picked up a Dragon Ball manga and, like, read it all the way through.
Yeah, no, I've never done that either. And Dragon Ball's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
The only manga I've ever read, I won't go too into detail, but, like, basically it had one season of an anime and then got canceled, and I was like, oh, but I really liked the story. What happens next? And I knew it was never going to get another season, so I was like, okay, I'll read the manga. And I enjoyed it thus, but I feel like if the entire series had gotten an anime, like all of it, then I would not have done that. So it has to be like a very special circumstance.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I'm really glad I got into the Attack on Titan manga. Just like yeah, I know a lot of, like, plot points, but I also got to, like, see, oh, here's a thing that wasn't in the anime, but I know this is a thing because it was in the manga.
Mm-hmm. Because as an adaptation, they have to move things around, change things, sometimes cut things out, sometimes add things.
Yeah.
It does happen. But that's just necessary as you shift, a comic into a show. So those tiny differences. You get them.
Yeah.
So I just really wanted to hammer it home to people that, yes, dude absolutely loves RWBY. He is patentedly obsessed with Blake Belladonna and her butt. But he also really super duper ultra loves Mikasa and her abs.
Oh, she does have them. Okay, like, that's another thing that Mikasa has over Blake. Like, she's got them abs.
Oh, okay. That's not what I thought you were gonna say. I was about to, like, have my entire worldview shattered.
Although Blake has that butt.
I know. Dude, I'm just gonna throw this out here. I thought you were legitimately about to announce that you found Mikasa to be just patently physically more attractive. And I was like, whoa! I was gonna fall out of my chair. I'm sorry.
That would have been hilarious to see, but...
But you can't, it's not something you can just say. No. I get you. But there you go. Dude loves both of them.
Yeah, and like...
He's thought about this a lot. He's not gonna take pleasure in seeing Mikasa lose.
Yeah, but... The thing I realized, like, yeah, Mikasa has other options, but they're not as great. And
and I don't think Blake has a better option than Mikasa. If I'm being honest, I've seen a lot of options go for her and stuff. I feel like while the power levels don't quite gel properly, I honestly feel as if thematically and character-wise, there's no better matchup for the two of them.
Yeah, and, like, look, a lot of people would say, oh, I think this matchup is one-sided, therefore it shouldn't happen. Okay, alright. Let's look through a whole bunch of other popular Death Battle requests that became official episodes, and by that logic, say they shouldn't have been a thing.
Goku versus Superman.
Yep, Samurai Jack versus Afro Samurai.
Virgil versus Sephiroth.
Yeah. Goro versus Machamp. Even this guy's favorite episode, Ratchet and Clank versus Jak and Daxter.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I loved that fight and I wanted it to happen. Jak and Daxter never stood a chance.
Yeah, I think even Nick at one point said on an Ask Me Anything, Ratchet and Clank could kill Jak and Daxter in the first 10 seconds.
They very easily could have. That was they stretched it out to make it more entertaining. But some of these fights would in fact end in mere moments. You want to know a really popular, mammothly popular fight that definitely would have ended almost immediately?
What at?
Thanos versus Darkseid.
I was thinking that one, yeah.
Yeah,
okay, if
they're not. They fill the same role, but they are not comparable.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, to its credit, if we're just talking Thanos versus a Darkseid avatar, then okay, sure. But then you bring in true Darkseid.
Well, here's the thing.
Oof.
If we're talking Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet versus a Darkseid avatar, sure. If we're talking just Thanos versus a Darkseid avatar, If we're talking any degree of Thanos versus true form Darkseid, ooh.
Yeah, and
that's what I'm saying. So, one-sided fights happen all the time. You know, one of the coolest fights to this day, still one of my all-time personal favorites that's definitely completely unfair for the loser, was Wolverine versus Raiden.
I thought you were about to say Thor versus Raiden.
No. I don't dislike that fight. It hasn't aged tremendously, but it's still perfectly good. But no, I still feel I don't know if you could say it was a good idea to make it, but I'm glad that it did because it was funny as hell. Point is, Raiden versus Wolverine. That was incredibly one-sided. I still think it's one of the coolest fights the show's ever had.
Oh, it really is.
Just outright. There are very few instances where I'm actually fist pumping as a fight is happening. And that was one of them. So, one-sided fights happen. And you know what? Sometimes one-sided fights are ridiculously popular and people really want to see them, sometimes not knowing how one-sided they are. And you know what? Death Battle doesn't do every fight that they get tons of requests for because they're that one-sided. I want you to think about all of the most one-sided fights this series has ever had, and I want you to really think about the fact that for every fight that's been ridiculously a one-sided stomp, they have rejected about 10 other ones that make more thematic sense or have in fact been more popularly requested that they didn't do because they were that one-sided. Just throwing one out there so you know I'm not talking out my ass. If they strictly just did, oh yeah, no, this is popular, let's do it, they would have done Scorpion versus Ghost Rider.
Oh god.
And that would have been the most unfair fight I almost could possibly conceive of.
Yeah. God, I remember someone talking about that, in a video once, and they were just yeah, you look into all of Scorpion, you get all the research, then you look into Ghost Rider for 10 seconds, and you're just like, oh, Scorpion's dead.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's I'm just throwing that one out there because that's one I saw all the time while I was working for Death Battle. It was absurdly popular. Ultimately, just because they both got flamey skeleton heads. And it's true, they do.
And chains, and,
chains,
hell.
and in hell, and all that good stuff. And they did sell their souls so they could, for various reasons or whatever. I'm not saying it doesn't work thematically. I'm not saying it wasn't a popular matchup. What I'm saying is, it was so one-sided, they couldn't justify making it.
Yeah.
And again, think about the one-sided fights they have made.
Like Flash versus Quicksilver.
Flash versus Quicksilver might actually be the most one-sided fight that's actually been released. But it's also one of those fights that's you can go okay, Scorpion and Ghost Rider. A lot of people ask for it, but it's not a famous, super-duper popular, everyone always talks about it matchup. The Flash and Quicksilver were almost, for their entire careers and existences, compared to each other. That was a real bite-the-bullet type moment. It's no, this is not gonna work, but okay. Quicksilver sure can outrun radio waves.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Barry Allen, what have you done? I outran the Grim Reaper. Oh!
Wasn't it Wooly that did that?
He did it too.
Oh, they both did it. Okay.
And if I'm misremembering and he didn't, he's done so much more. At the very least, he's
also
fast enough. He's fast enough to make Light look slow. So
also, you could just bring up that time Barry and Wally had a race and they nearly tore apart the multiverse.
That alone. It's like, hey, whoa, Wally, we're running a little too fast, boyo.
And then just, if Barry really wanted to, he could just bring Quicksilver into the Speed Force.
And oh, look at that. Now I am the universe. He didn't have to do that, by the way.
No, he did not, but it was cool.
Ah, man, there's like this one video I saw once. It was a live-action Quicksilver versus Flash.
Oh, was it?
Maybe?
Minute Match
might have been
by Ismahawk.
It might have been, but one of my favorite parts of that is the Flash eventually just starts moving so fast that while Quicksilver is moving fast, he's in slow motion.
Huh.
Like Quicksilver is using his super speed, and he's in slow motion compared to the Flash.
Oh, I don't think that was Minute Matchups.
It might not have been. I'm not sure who it was, but it was something, and I that always stuck to me because, like, yeah, that's basically the less polite way of putting this fight.
Yeah, I'm also just gonna throw this out there in terms of like Blake versus Mikasa. Blake versus Mikasa having a clear-cut winner. On one hand, like, it's also kind of Mikasa's only real shot at getting into Death Battle. And the other fights that she has, where it's like nowhere near as popular, they don't really end well for her.
Like, even more so.
So, if Mikasa's gonna get into Death Battle and lose, no matter who she fights,
you'd prefer she fights someone else you really super love.
Yeah, like, I'd rather it be, like, Blake, her most thematic opponent, and just...
Right.
Yeah, well, and also I don't really like a lot of Blake's other requests either.
Yeah, I get you. So that was a thing.
And yeah, it's gonna hurt to see Mikasa die. Just let her go out like a badass.
I'm pretty sure she will. I feel like that's pretty safe.
God, he's hoping. Anyway, I think we've been talking, like, for how long?
2.5 hours.
Jesus.
Yeah. I didn't want to say anything because you were super into it and I was really digging it and being happy and excited about it and I was feeding off that hype. But I think we've covered our tracks.
Oh god, for anyone who like sat through all of that, like,
you the real MVP.
Yeah, honestly.
But this was for us, and if you also liked it, that's phenomenal. Thank you. But don't worry. Mate's got more stuff to do with this matchup.
Yeah, like, I plan on reacting to every single preview. Like, Blake Belladonna overshadows Death Battle, reacting to it. Mikasa Ackerman launches an attack on Death Battle, reacting to it. The animation preview they show on Death Battle cast, reacting to it.
He's gonna do it.
Absolutely. Like, oh god, like, I'm also just really curious, like, who the hell is gonna voice Mikasa? I really want to know.
And who will voice Blake?
Gee, I wonder. Alright, in all seriousness, if it for some reason isn't Eren, like...
Okay, that would be massively disappointing, yes, but the odds of that are infinitesimally small.
I will say, though, if for whatever reason they couldn't get Eren, either have someone who can do just as good a job, or get her voice actor from the RWBY Abridged series.
If they had to, for some reason, I'm almost positive they don't. But, like, if they had to, she's really good. But I do not think they will. Don't worry.
Yeah. Or even,
it's going to be good.
Actually, even then, I think she could do a decent Mikasa.
I guess we'll see. They'll announce the voice actors eventually.
That would actually be kind of funny. It'd be official Blake versus a British Blake.
That would honestly be kind of hilarious. You never know. Crazier things have happened. That being said, this has been a long talk. I had a good amount of fun. I'm hoping that you also did, being able to vent some of your hype.
Oh, so much of it.
There you go. And there'll be plenty more later.
And
we hope you all. We hope anybody who watched this enjoyed it.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe we'll end up doing this for like other Death Battle matchups. Like,
Depends. You never know. I mean, sometimes we've got stuff we want to talk about.
yeah, it'd have to be one that we're super into as well. Like,
yeah, but there exists some possible matchups where that's totally possible.
Yeah.
So we'll see. That being said, I hope you all have a great day, night, evening, whatever it is you are, and we will see you next time, whenever that is.
Oh, you know what? Shout out to my friend Anthony for this. Hope you have a good morning, even night.
That's a good thing to say. Your friend, the giant ant, is very wise. See you next time.
Goodbye.